Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to April's Quality of Life Committee meeting. I'm Pat Moore, Chair. Mariama James is here. She's co-chair. Lucian Reynolds is our district manager. And we are going to start by having Officer Brian Nelson from our first precinct, who's here to update us on anything going on in the community, and then you can ask any questions or let him know anything that's an issue. So let's start off with, hi, Brian.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Thanks for coming tonight.
My pleasure. I apologize if you hear noise. I'm at a protest up on 18th Street, helping out. So if you hear noise in the background, it's from that.
What's that protest for?
It's a union protest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. So anything that's happened in the last month that you'd like to tell us about?
So in the first precinct, some of the issues that obviously we've been having. Last week, the subway incident obviously was at the foremost of everybody's concern, and we've been getting a lot of questions and comments about what's going on and what we're doing in regards to that. Like, does the NYPD have a plan moving forward? And we have had some meetings with Transit District 2, who covers the whole first precinct. That they're the transit district that covers us. We've had some Zooms with them, and we've been in contact with their commanding officer and their sergeants. As far as I don't have anything specific as far as like a headquarters type of plan, but they are beefing up the transit patrols. We're actually pitching in. All the precincts are sending cops, even more than they were now. They're sending them on every tour to do transit posts at high profile locations. Luckily, the guy was apprehended from last week, so that helped out a lot. Or was quelling some of the those fears that he was still out there and that this could happen again. Basically we're telling everybody, be the eyes and ears out there. If you see something that you think is suspicious, alert somebody that may be on the platform. If not, call 911. Do whatever you can to try to, give a good description that you can of the person, what they're wearing, direction that they went in, what they were carrying. All these little things can help us try to locate this person if somebody's not on scene as you're seeing this. As far as the first precinct street side, we're going to be having some charity walks and 5Ks going on in the next few months. This weekend in in Brookfield, they're going to have the American Heart Association. No, I'm sorry. This weekend is the 9/11 Memorial 5K. It's going to start on Brookfield property, go by River Terrace, Chambers Street, and then end on the World Trade Center Plaza. So you're going to have some street closures in regards to that. And it's going to be over by 1:30. So we should see like streets opening up by like 2 o'clock.
Will the streets open as they pass? So in other words, will all the streets be closed until the race is over, or as they pass, each street will open?
So as the last person passes, once they're a safe distance, they'll start opening them. It's not going to be many streets that are impacted. Like 90% of the race is going to be on either the promenade or will be at World Trade Center. Like it's going to end at the World Trade Center. So most of the streets will only be impacted for a short period of time. But we have that. We have the 5 Borough Bike Tour on May 1st. We have the American Heart Association coming up on the 24th or the 25th of May. So we are going to see some street closures downtown in regards. And
what streets? Like when you say World Trade Center, you mean like Broadway, Cedar?
So most of it's like going to be like Greenwich Street. This one comes up Greenwich Street from Battery Park. So it'll be mostly in the frozen zone that vehicles have access to. And it's early on Sunday morning, so even those streets down there, they don't get much vehicular traffic that early as far as anything that's going to really create a logjam in that area.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of walkthroughs with DOT in regards to the American Heart Association walk, and then we have another walk through with DOT next week in regards to some traffic concerns. I know Tammy had some concerns that she was telling me about in regards to permits to these events. So we're trying, we're trying to meet with the the proper agencies and come to some sort of agreement on how to not hinder, the residents and community members' lives, with these permits.
And some of this has come up in individual committees and will be presented at the full board meeting, Miriam, next week.
Okay.
Brian, when you said get back to extra personnel in high-profile locations, what are those locations in our district?
So for the most part in our district, the Fulton Center is getting a heavy concentration. The Oculus, City Hall Plaza will get some attention, and the Spring and 6th Street location also gets extra patrols there.
And how about down by the ferry?
So the ferry one is getting, but that's called the end of the line. So they're actually the transit cops are on for that. So they're actually, it's their own command that's covering that one. I don't think they're adding any additional personnel because that was one of their locations that they do their end of the line stuff, which is when they get all people off the train before that goes into Whitehall and South Ferry.
Okay.
The gentleman that was stabbed in the neck exiting the train on the stairs of the train, like 2 days before the Brooklyn incident.
Yes.
Did that go into the first precinct or was that MTA? Because it was like he wasn't in the train station; he was leaving the train station. So I don't know.
Jurisdiction, like we get that complaint, but it's not investigated by our detective squad. It's under the jurisdiction of transit, so they handle it on their end.
Do we know at least if that was like an isolated incident and that
right now
person shouldn't be a concern?
It's not an area of concern. There was no pattern that was formed. They didn't. This wasn't a repeat offender that we had wanted in like any other incidents.
Okay.
Like right now, it's just an isolated incident, and nothing fits any ongoing pattern that anybody needs to be upset about or concerned about.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Lucian, do you have your hand up?
I do. Brian, or Officer Nelson, what has NYPD's legal counsel issued guidance to beat officers about the changes to Kendra's law that went through in the budget and what that means for you all and when dealing with emotionally disturbed persons?
So we haven't, I'm sure they're working on that. We haven't received any administration or legal bureau bulletins yet in regards. We're aware of it, but nothing officially has come down changing our procedures on how we handle it. But I mean, for the most part, like I said, as time, over the past 2 years or so, our whole outlook and approach to that has changed. So, we try to get, the proper medical professionals involved as much as we can, try to get Department of Homeless Services involved as much as we can. We're kind of there just as an emissary in case things go badly. We let them do the heavy lifting, in the fields that is their area of expertise. And if we need to step in, we will.
Thanks, Brian.
Is that good? Rosa and then Jill.
Thank you very much. Hi, Officer Nelson. So I had emailed you or CC'd you regarding something that had happened to a neighbor of mine. His name is Alex, and he's actually in attendance tonight. So hopefully he'll be able to share his story with you all about what had happened just outside our building. But because I'm not as familiar with all of these issues, when somebody who does seems to be not of great decision-making capability is dangerous in public and threatens people, what happens? Like, I mean, like what happens after they have been approached by the police or by the department of whatever?
Okay, so if we get a 911 call of somebody that, in our terminology, we would say that they're emotionally disturbed, that's how the call would come over. When we show up to that scene, if they're a danger to themselves or a danger to others, we can take immediate action. We don't need any other outside agency to get involved. If there's an immediate threat to themselves or a third party, we can take action depending upon what level of threat is, like whether it's going to be an apprehension, an arrest, and have to take them to the hospital, or if it's just a situation where we might have to just take them for a psychiatric evaluation with no arrest. We try to keep it to the psychiatric evaluation with no arrest. We don't like victimize. We don't like, uh, you know, arresting people that might not necessarily be of sound mind and not realize the decisions that they're making at that moment. So if they haven't hurt anybody else, or whoever it was that called us isn't looking to press charges, we'll just take them to a facility that's able to do an evaluation. And once they're put into that emergency unit, we're not told like how long they're held for. We're not told when they're released. We're not told what their final evaluation was. Because of HIPAA laws, unfortunately, we don't get any outcome on how that went. Bellevue, just from having been doing this for such a long time, and you kind of get used to how things go. Bellevue usually will hold them up to 72 hours, 48 to 72 hours, just to get an evaluation done. They're not free to leave, but then after the 72-hour mark, I believe by law they have to release them if they haven't deemed them a threat to themselves or others.
And I guess so. So then, what happens in terms of like just safety on the streets and stuff? Because I do feel like every time I'm reading about something that's happened either on the streets or in the subways, it does tend to be repeat offenders or people who have records or prior history of incidences. And I think I may literally be the only person I know that doesn't walk around with a can of mace. I mean, like, and that seems wrong.
No, it's a legitimate concern. So the overall perspective is that the NYPD, there's not much that we can do until the bail reform laws are changed, the recidivist reform laws are changed. That's the political answer. What we're doing, we're actually Captain Smith has been having meetings with council members. We've had meetings with council member Marte. We've had meetings with council member Botcher. We've met with Borough President Levine. We're trying to think outside the box and let them know our concerns, and that that a lot of it's not going to change until these laws. But the NYPD, unfortunately, is not a political entity. We really can't, take a side. So we can only do what we can do. That's, what's on the books and what we're allowed to do. We're not going to stop enforcing the law. So we'll keep making the arrests. We'll keep, pressing the DA's office to hold them on bail. But unfortunately, we don't get a say in that. That's their office. Now, today, Captain Smith and a bunch of the executives in Manhattan had a meeting with the DA, with DA Bragg and some of his subordinates. And it looks like, some of this may start to change a little bit on how they're doing it. They're going to have to rechange some of the legislative wording, and they're going to have to, put some things to a vote. But it looks like they really are trying to help, kind of close that gap on the loopholes on how everybody wasn't, being able to be held on bail, or everybody had to get a desk appearance ticket if they didn't, hit a certain, if they didn't have a certain amount of arrests. So they're trying to close like those loopholes and work with us. So I mean, it's a positive thing. We're not there yet. Hopefully, we're going to start to see some changes in that once we can, hold some of these recidivists, because that's a big problem, is the recidivists, right? They're doing it over and over again, and nothing, they're free to leave either that night or the next day. So, hopefully now things will change. The right people are being made aware of it, and hope, it's up to them now to make those changes. But we've brought it to their attention, and we're going to continue. Captain Smith's very big on, community involvement and taking our complaints to right to the council members and to our state senators. Things that we haven't really done in the past, we're getting involved in now, and that's on his behest. He wants us to do that, so that's what we're doing. So please, you know, if you guys have anything that you want us to relay, we'll be more than happy to relay that.
We have lots we'd like to relay. Maybe if we can touch base offline. Yes, absolutely.
Well, you email, and I sent you back. Did you get my email reply?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, I replied to you and to Alex.
Okay.
And I think a couple other people that were on it, I copied them onto it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think I saw that. Okay.
So
I'll
Melissa, if you need
In regards
to,
to Alex's situation, I let the NCO program, I let their sergeant know. I let the cops that cover that Liberty Street and Dutch and Fulton Street area, I let them know about the situation. Like I said, he was brought to Bellevue. I looked up the job, his 911 calls. He was the person was brought to Bellevue, but after he was, you know, put into that Bellevue CPEP program, which is their psychiatric evaluation program, you know, in the emergency department. We don't, you know, once they take custody of him, we don't know what the outcome is. So I don't know if he's out yet. I assume if it happened over the weekend, by Wednesday, he's probably out, unless they, you know, deemed him a danger to himself or others.
all right.
Oh, okay.
Melissa, can you take it? Yeah, if there's
Yep.
anything else, can you take it offline?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you
But
very
at
much.
least you got to kind of have some info.
Yes, thank you so much.
Good, good. I have a list in no particular order. I don't know who put their hands up first, but I've got Jill, Mitch, Betty, and Jimmy. So Jill?
Yep. Hi, Officer Nelson. Hope you are doing well. I heard this week something I'd never heard about in Battery Park City before, and that's in more than one of the buildings that there have been bad people, checking doorknobs, and if the doors are unlocked, going in and robbing, committing robberies. Have you heard about this? Are you aware of this? Any information at all?
So I mean, that's an old, that trick has been around for a while. People are always trying doors. We get a lot of that up in Soho. I haven't heard any complaints from Battery Park City residents or any reports that have been filed in regards to this, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's happening. You know, people like crimes of opportunity. They'll pull on a door. If it opens, they'll go in and see what they can do. It's unfortunate we have these types of predators that do this for a living. They pick an area and this is what they do. They go around doing things like pulling on door handles, seeing if they can get into lobbies. They'll steal packages. We do have a package theft issue going on right now in the precinct. We've had it, you know, for quite some time. So you probably heard me talk about it before, especially around the holidays, but we do have those types of patterns that are going on specifically now. Not to the Battery Park City area, but in other parts of the precinct.
Okay, I'll see if I can get more information, because we're talking about like these large, rental and condo buildings,
Absolutely.
which are doorman buildings. So
Yep.
I was surprised to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jill. So Mitch?
Yes. Hi, Officer Nelson. I just wanted to touch on something I think I brought up in the past, but since it was brought up again tonight about, the offices on riding the trains. I mean, I'm on the trains all the time, and I still see not all the time, I would say a great majority, at least 80 to 90%, they're standing in one spot in groups. Where it could be two, I understand, but sometimes I see 3, 4, 5. And even in the Spring Street, that location, when I was coming back on the C train, I looked out the window, and on the other platform is like two cops, like just with their heads in their cell phones, checking messages. And I just remember years ago when I was younger, the cops rode the trains, or at least if they were on the platform, they'd stuck their heads in the cars, like on a semi-regular basis. Is there any oversight in having that happening, or is it basically just putting them down there? I don't want to say for show, because it's never just for show, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right. No, so they're there for an omnipresence type of situation. So not for show, but yes, they're there for show so that the public's.
No, I understand.
That, criminals do see that too.
But is any
oversight? We have what's called an inspections unit, which is basically like supervisors that are assigned to go out and make sure guys, they're doing the right thing. They're in the location they're supposed to be. They're aware. of
Yeah.
their
They're not
surroundings.
walking the plank, Officer Nelson, and they're not right. Most of them are not riding the trains. You know, I can
They're
tell you.
they're not supposed to run the extra patrols aren't. They're specifically for platforms. They're not supposed to go on the trains. Now they can go on the train if there's an issue. They can stick
I,
their head if the train comes. But I can't Monday morning quarterback something that I'm not specifically seeing. We do have oversight. I don't know if you heard with the mayor and the police commissioner's office. They're even having our chiefs now go out on these deployments. There's a chief assigned to every borough that has to ride the trains for their full
right,
tour.
about that, but he can't be. I mean, you know, the
It
groups
can't
of
be
cops. If they could just walk the platform, especially in stations, whether it's like Fulton Street or Chambers Street or 42nd Street, where there's like 5 or 6 different entrances and egress and exits, you know,
Mitch,
uh, because the
right.
bad guys know where they're standing after a while, you know.
Mitch,
I I'll pass along your concerns, but
right,
I'm a police officer. I have no
right,
supervisor.
Right.
I pass it along. I can't make
right.
transition.
There's
No,
no
transit.
question there.
Pat, I have 2 other suggestions separate from this, and what this in maybe in support of you guys.
Is it specifically about our community, our district?
It includes our district. It includes every district. I mean, I can't really answer that. But I would like to make the suggestion so he can bring back. I know that the cops obviously ride the subways for free. I would like to, if you can bring back suggestions. I don't know, maybe to your union delegates that to give like some type of bonus incentive program for the cops to if they ride the trains or buses to work for a bonus if they're in uniform, like whether it's a monetary bonus or extra paid vacation days or extra sick days on in their record to get just that would be like a win-win for everybody. And the other thing is maybe to bring back to your union delegates is that trying to get a live token booth person at as many places as possible is an extra set of official eyes.
Okay, but that's MTA. That's
Right,
not the police.
but if the police union could maybe support that idea, I mean, anyway,
Right.
so what about the idea of some type of bonus incentive program, incentivizing the cops to, for
Okay, Mitch,
riding
I'm going
the
to
trains?
interrupt you and say, let's talk about that as a possible reso. The MTA, the token booth is a totally separate thing. It's
Hey, forget
MTA.
about the token booth. What about this riding the trains in uniform and getting like
That would be, I think that would be our community board making a, writing a reso and making a suggestion. Officer Nelson can't do anything about it.
Can I just ask Officer Nelson what he thinks about that?
Go for it. Brian, you have an opinion?
About an incentive program to riding the trains in uniform to work?
Did we lose him? Brian, did we lose you? Lucian?
Let me look at the attendee section. Maybe he dropped off and has to be re-added in. Give me a second. There's a lot of people here, so I'm scrolling.
Okay, Mark Amaruso has a question. I would also suggest to everyone, I mean, it's wonderful that we get Officer Nelson to come here every month or every other month, but I would also suggest for everyone to please attend the First Precinct's Community Council meetings.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. I'll keep
Maybe
looking.
he dropped.
Protest.
Okay, so if he comes back on, we'll continue. But since he's gone, some of these things you can send to an email to Lucian and myself, and we can see if we can get answers for you. All right. So, okay, we're going to move on then while we're waiting to see if Brian gets to come back or not. So I think maybe what we should do a short thing first, and then if Brian comes back on, we can resume. Is Diane Stein here? Lucia?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, do you want to talk to us? And I don't have the, Lucia was just going to take our Driscree reso from before and change it so that it was about the assembly And I know that Deborah Glick was going to carry it. So do you want to just quickly tell us what you were requesting?
Okay, all right. I was trying to I was actually on the phone with John Scott. He was trying to get to join the meeting, but he wasn't able to do so. Let me call you back.
Not
Anyway,
able to do so because what, Lucian couldn't
I don't
let
know,
him
he
in,
clicked
or-
on I don't know, he clicked on, it said meeting unavailable.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on in terms of that. And did I lose? Oh, Lucian, are you still there?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on over here. I think Brian's back
Yeah.
on. I can put the stuff on the screen. Oh, Brian said his connection went bad. I'm bringing him back on.
Okay.
But Pat, we gotta I think we should probably have DDC go first because after Brian,
Okay.
Oh,
we have a lot of people
Okay.
here for DDC.
Okay. So we'll do that. So let's just get
So
Brian
I'm
back
gonna
on.
bring Brian back over.
Okay.
Brian.
Is it
I'm
possible to
I'm
ask what
grabbing-
So Mitch,
see.
can we hold
Yes,
that?
yes, and yes, you can.
Thank you. Thank you. Betty, Jimmy, and Mark. Once we see Brian is back on.
And I
there's
moved you
Brian.
over. So there we are.
Sorry about that.
Hey.
So Betty.
Sorry, my hand's not up.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I was seeing hands up. What about Jimmy?
I'm here. Yeah.
Was your hand up?
Yeah. Then I put it down, but okay, I can put it back up. There you go.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So yeah, I want to just kind of mention that, really like this homeless issue, the police can only do so much. They really actually in many ways is more than the scope of their work, because unless the homeless person is doing something illegal, sometimes their presence will only escalate the situation. At least with I have way too many interaction with homeless and prisoners because of my work, and also, just being a District 1 resident. I think that the city really need to get more mental health workers out on the street working with the police, and they probably should be very involved in the first interaction with the homeless person and make sure that this thing doesn't get escalated into a more kind of criminal type of situation. So another thing is that, we also have to think what's down the road. I can tell you right now, this city do not have enough facilities and professionals to handle all the homeless people they picked up. I mean, Bellevue cannot handle it. They don't have, so we really have to put effort helping the city, let the elected officials know that they need to devote more resources and energy, and you can't just take them off the street. It's the same thing over again.
Jimmy, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have to move. If you have a question for Brian, do you have a question?
Yeah, Brian, when are you going to stop by again?
So again, Jimmy, we can take that up and possibly write a reso, about, obviously they do need more mental health workers. We also haven't heard, because I don't think it's been finalized, the mayor's new program to deal with people in the subway, and hopefully we'll hear about that in the next month. So Jimmy, I'm going to move along. Mark, you were on the phone. You had a question for Brian? Mark? Maruso?
Is that what you said? That he's a call-in?
Yep. He said he was on the phone.
Okay, Mark, I see you. You should be able to unmute now, Mark.
Hi, does it work?
Yep.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Hi, so I have four, I think would be quick points to go over, if you could. These are all quality of life issues. We have a number of streets, or a few streets in the neighborhood that are for deliveries only, so no trucks. And I was wondering if you guys enforce that, or one agency that can enforce that violation?
What's the location?
Is Hubert Street, Beach Street? They're usually coming out the tunnel. The biggest culprit is Action Karting. Will often do it, and sometimes the Department of Sanitation on their own, driving through cobblestone streets that are only for deliveries. No truck.
So
They're not truck routes.
Any public street, the NYPD has the ability to enforce any of the parking conditions. We do let a majority of that go to the traffic enforcement agency. That does that. That's their top priority is issuing like parking summonses. We can get in touch with them with that location. I'll also let my traffic safety officer know about these locations and that they can send the uniform cops to that location to assess the situation, and if there's any anything that can be addressed, that they'll address it with summonses or move them along at least if they can. So
yeah, generally happens. It generally happens. Well, certainly during the day, but the problem is when it's like late at night, like between like 11 and 4 or 5 in the morning, particularly when they're barreling out of the tunnel. So they can just pass that information along as well.
Absolutely.
And Mark, can you send an email with those streets, please?
Sure thing. Yeah, I could do that and follow up. The other thing is I reported this to the community board, and Lucian had said to inform you of that, and we can certainly do an email as well. We work at 53 Beach Street. I don't know if you were involved in the near riot that was last summer when they had that incredible huge party. Captain Smith was there himself, as well as LT was there. So that's that location. So we looked it up, or it was looked up, that they don't have any type of liquor license or beer and wine license, but they do have beer taps set up in their lobby. So I was told, Lucian had told me that I should inform you guys about that, and we can certainly follow up an email. I don't know if we need a formal complaint on it, but if you can go see if they're actually serving beer there when they're not supposed to, or if it's in lieu of something.
Right now, there's beer taps.
Yes. There, I have a photo of it.
We can do that right away, and then I'll also get SLA and Department of Buildings involved.
Okay, great. The third thing is deliveries were talked about. At some of our buildings, they don't even have to check the doorknob. I don't know if you guys have liaison people that deal with Amex and FedEx and not Amex, FedEx and Amazon. But what the delivery guys do, they just leave the package outside the building on the sidewalk. So stuff isn't getting stolen; it's just left there. And they click on the barcode and they have it clicked as delivery, and then you have to try and prove to whoever you got bought it from that it was not delivered. So interestingly enough, when they actually get into the building and put it in the lobby, they'll take a photo of it and you can see it online. But when they just leave it out front, they just click delivered. So I don't know if that's something that you can help with if you have some kind of relationships with these delivery companies, to tell them don't leave the packages on the sidewalk. It seems like common sense, but it's usually an uncommon valor with these.
We have in the past gotten involved with some of these larger corporations in regards to similar situations.
Okay.
A lot of times, there's that corporate red tape. They say that it's specific routes and that the overall corporation doesn't have the authority to tell them how to do their deliveries. If there's signatures not required or certain specific restrictions aren't placed on that delivery, there's nothing they can do on how they deliver that package.
I was told from companies that regardless of any of that, they're not supposed to leave the package outside of a building. It's not a porch in Iowa; it's Manhattan.
No, I mean, I agree. There's no criminal recourse that the NYPD can enforce.
So I just thought maybe that I knew that part, but I just thought that maybe you guys had a better liaison situation to maybe tickle.
Unfortunately, we really don't, because a lot of times, like I said, we have people in corporate, and they'll tell us either what we want to hear, and it never changes, or they'll flat out tell us that they can't enforce that.
Let me interrupt. Mark, if you have specific locations, why don't you let us know, and then we can reach out yeah, to whether, let us know if it's UPS, let us know the location, if it's FedEx, and then
Actually,
maybe we
UPS
can reach.
UPS is actually pretty good. It's really Amazon and FedEx. The
With
worst
so-
ones.
Amazon, there's one company in particular called Laser Ship that doesn't,
I don't
that
know.
just
They have like
leaves
third-party vendors,
they-
but they all wear Amazon
they leave the
uniforms.
stuff anywhere. Laser Ship does that in
All
my
right,
building
well,
as
you know
well.
what, guys, again, it's not a police issue, let's take it offline.
Fine. We can take that one offline. And then just the fourth thing and the last thing was this is absolutely a quality of life issue. So we had, I guess in the summer, this probably happens sometimes. Car alarm goes off, it's defective, and it's going off nonstop. So number of us will call the police. We get it, it's not an emergency, but can you guys get here when you can, kind of thing. And last summer they came, it was good. They clicked up, they looked up the tag number, they found where the persons lived, they went around the corner, knocked on the door, the guy came. This happened last night. Now from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. till the guy's battery died, and he lives around the corner, as we find out this morning, so he got a good night's sleep. But a number of us called the police and the precinct, but no one ever showed up to just do that. I can't imagine it was emergencies for those 10 hours where, and I'll tell you, it's shouting distance from the first precinct front door where I'm talking about. I don't want to give my address over a public forum, but no one came to try and help, to try and maybe do that scenario again, to at least look up and see. And no one on the block, you'd sleep.
They utilize the 911 and 311 system though?
Yeah, it was 911 because 311 says, yeah, we'll be there next week or next year or next decade. But 911, at least if the police comes and we get it, you're not coming. It could be a couple of 3 hours or whatever, but they have the ability to look up the tag to find the location of the owner to inform them. But no one came this time. It was like 10 hours.
I can look in to see what happened, with the 911 system and what happened. I can bring up the 911 call and go from there. I'll have to do that in the morning because I don't have access to my computer right now.
All right. I appreciate you getting back to us. And I mean, we understand it's not a 911 thing. We said it, but said, can you come here when you can? Look up the tag. Person probably lives in the neighborhood, and then we can get it fixed. But it was certainly no one got any sleep on the street last night because it was a overly loud one than usual.
Not a problem. We'll look
Right.
into it.
Thank you,
Okay,
Officer.
so, and I have the last, unless there's anyone from the public that had any questions?
Pat, you're not going to let him you don't want to just ask his opinion on the riding the trains in uniform suggestion I had? Or you want to wait for another time?
Yeah, I mean, it's an opinion. Right now, we're trying to get questions answered. We can take it offline. We can, write a reso. We could. I don't think it matters. Sorry, Brian. I don't think it matters what Brian's opinion is.
No, but if he takes it back to his supervisor, I would think that's all I just.
Well, Brian, did you hear that Mitch was proposing that you take back to the union and ask if there could be some incentive for officers riding to and from work in their uniforms to try to be a presence on
Whether it's
public
monetary or
transportation?
like vacation days or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could ask. That's something that has to be collectively bargained with the city. We can't do something like that without it being in the contract. So that's
Just a suggestion moving forward when you bring back to your superiors. That's all. I think it's a win-win.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome. Lucian, was there anyone from the public who?
It's Alex McAloon.
Who was it?
Alex McAloon.
And someone else, I heard a female voice say something.
Oh, no, that was just me, Rosa, just saying that Alex was there.
Oh. And Alex, it's about the same issue that Rosa brought up?
Oh, I won't give the detailed, thank you for taking me, but I won't give the detailed experience. I'm a born and raised New Yorker. I grew up on 104th and West End. Been here my entire life, thank God. And, there have been homeless people and lots of mentally ill people that I've experienced, throughout my life here. I do think the situation has gotten over my lifetime, much better. And now, unfortunately, is on the way back down. This individual was basically, I was walking with my son from about block away, saw the individual most likely on drugs and chose to take a different route, the person or whatever took offense to this essentially from a block away and literally started sprinting towards me, screaming, "I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to get your kid. I'm going to whatever." And I'm luckily in good enough shape. I was carrying my son. I could run for essentially a block to avoid the interaction. Ultimately, I did call he left or turned another way. I did call the police. You guys responded quickly. Ultimately, though, they were coming to do their canvas, and as a person who lives in the neighborhood and is aware of where the general drug addicts go, which is, at least in my area, Fulton Street, I took a walk without my son. Obviously, he was home at this point, and I went to a couple locations where I have seen, not that I knew this individual in particular, but that I have seen them congregate. And sure enough, the individual was there nodding off on, whatever drug he was on, about 30 minutes later, and was with two other individuals who were, even at that point, making people who walk down the street feel uncomfortable. And, kind of like just, generally disturbing the neighborhood. So luckily the police were in the neighborhood and could, ultimately arrested him or put him in whatever situation, I guess, the way it's handled. But is there, I guess my question ultimately is there any attempt to remove the groups of let's call them homeless people, drug addicts, whatever, again, I understand many people are down on their luck, but there's also a community of people who will congregate and harass and probably do drugs and do all that in the same places. I mean, this is on Fulton Street in front of Burger King. If anyone lives down here, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And there's just these pockets where they stay and they set up shop, and it's almost like that's their corner or their block or whatever it is. And there's no police presence to remove them. But for obviously if they directly, I guess, attempt to assault somebody.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Alex. Let me so what you're essentially asking is, what is the policy in removing groups of people who are congregating on corners and maybe obviously, maybe not obviously, doing drugs? What's the policy, Brian?
So unofficially, every situation is its own individual situation. So it's hard to say, one situation may call for removal, another situation may call for there's nothing we can do. I can tell you that, again, a lot of the laws in the past 2 years have changed. They make it harder for us to be able to enforce certain things, such as the panhandling, the hanging out on the street corner, the disorderly behavior. The DA's office has not, they gave us a list of things that they will no longer prosecute. Homeless is one of them. Certain types of trespass is another one. Certain types of panhandling is another one that they will not entertain it anymore. So there's not much that we can do in those situations unless the situation is so egregious that we can explain it to that there's an outlying factor that makes it be able to have the DA's office actually prosecute it. A cop's if a cop arrests somebody 10 times for drug use or for like an aggressive panhandling thing, and every time it's declined prosecution, he's not going to he or she is not going to open themselves up to lawsuit for for a bad arrest then on the 11th time. It's that's why I'm saying, that's why we're trying to think outside the box right now. Is there any official thing that we're doing to help that? No, but like I said, we're meeting with elected officials, we're meeting with community groups, we're meeting with different social media groups. We're trying to think outside the box, get everybody's opinion, and take that to our elected officials and kind of put some pressure on them to help us out in these situations.
One of the challenges is that sometimes you can't remove them because it's their neighborhood too. They live in the shelters.
It's not a crime
they
to
live
be
in the
homeless.
Shelters a lot of the time.
Right. So
Let me
we get a lot of
interrupt.
complaints on William Street, but there's that shelter that's right at 52
Right,
William.
exactly.
Right.
We get Wall and William all the time as a complaint, as a congregating place. But the only thing that they're doing wrong is that there's 4 or 5 of them out there at an hour that most of the public doesn't like, but they're not doing anything wrong.
Right. Let me interrupt. Alex, first of all, sorry that that happened to you. Secondly, I just wanted you to know that this is a community board meeting, so everybody lives in the neighborhood or works in the neighborhood, but mostly lives in the neighborhood. And thirdly, you should reach out to our council person, Christopher Morte, let him, because he's someone who can help to get legislation or at least get money to help open shelters or, whatever the issues are that need to be addressed. But everyone, I'm still encouraging you all to go to the First Precinct Community Council meeting. And the next one is when, Brian?
The next one is going to be on a week from tonight, a week from tomorrow. It's Thursday, the 28th at 6 p.m. We are not sure yet if we're doing Zoom or in person, but it'll be on our Twitter, Facebook, and I'm going to send out an email notification.
Okay, and so if the notification comes to the community board, it will be sent out to people who are on our mailing list. Diane Lapson, I'm going to let you have
May I
the
just ask
last.
one last question? I'm sorry, regarding that.
Sorry, Alex.
Where does so I totally agree. We need programs and we need a lot more. Obviously it's not the police's role to certainly be involved in every one of these situations. Where does that funding ultimately come from? I mean, who's in charge of that? Is it state? Is it city? Is it?
It's a combination. So that's why I'm saying reach out to our council person, our new council person, Christopher Marte. You can also, you can take it offline and have a conversation with Lucian, who will have some suggestions. So write an email. You are in contact with Rosa, and Rosa, you can supply Alex with Lucian's contact information.
Yep, I think they both have each other's
Yeah,
information.
I'm looped in on the email, and honestly, I think as Brian said, we're all waiting to hear from what the differences are going to be after this New York State budget passed. There were changes in a couple of these different sections of the New York State Code that refer to emotionally disturbed persons, bail. So that's going to filter down over time, and we're going to find out what that really means effectively for policing and whether or not that addresses some of the conditions that are being described here today.
So Alex,
I
continue
appreciate
to
that. Yep.
be in contact with us. We're here to try to help in any way we can.
And
Sorry
Alex, you
again
have
that
my
you had
email
that
now,
incident.
so feel free to reach out to me also.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Diane Lapson, did you take your hand down? Did you have something you wanted to say?
It's okay. Let's move on. I'll
Okay.
deal with.
So I'm gonna then have the last word. Vicki Cameron had sent you the photos and an email about all of the traffic and the traffic jam that was being caused in front of the Key Foods on Fulton. You want to update us on anything that's happened to try to alleviate that problem?
So the email that Vicki sent me, I immediately forwarded to my traffic sergeant and the traffic safety officer. They did get in contact with the traffic enforcement agency and put it on their radar. It's also on the radar of our summons unit. I do believe they did go and write a few summonses there, but obviously a few summonses isn't going to change it. It's going to have to be repetitive enforcement there that's going to get that to change. We don't always have the manpower at the precinct to do it. That's why we also, are getting the outside agency involved to help us with that.
Also, let them know that Wednesday, I know this as a senior, that Wednesday is senior discount day at Key Foods. And that is one of the reasons why you have more traffic on Wednesday and double parking, and buses pulling up with seniors going shopping. So they might want to make sure that they have extra, patrols out there on Wednesday to try to manage the traffic.
You got it. I will.
So Brian, as always, we really appreciate you coming, and we want you to stay safe out there. And people, please, I see some hands clapping for you. And
Thank you, everyone.
Please, everyone, look for the notice about the First Precinct Community Council meeting. Be well, Brian, and have a good night.
Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks. Bye. All right. So we are going to move along to everyone who's here from DDC. Every other month, we get updates from DGC about all of the projects that are going on in our community. Not only that, but we're also going to talk about the detention complex demolition project. We're going to get updates on that. So who's here?
This is Walkman One from New York City DDC.
Walkman, how are you?
Good, good. I'm back.
Hey, we're glad you're back.
Okay, we're gonna go through some projects that we've been going through for the last couple of meetings and just give you an update of what's going on. Worth Street, just let you know, the corner of Worth and Church Street is now open to traffic. We've paved it and striped it, and now it's open to traffic.
And Walkman, before you go any further, so after it was opened, and Lucian chime in here, we had gotten some complaints from one of the residents that lives there, and
Yes.
it was about curb cuts and disrepair and
Yeah, I spoke.
I don't
I
remember.
spoke with the project on that, and it turns out that those sidewalks are vaulted, and DDC is not touching vaulted sidewalks for repair because of the potential pitfalls, literal pitfalls with doing that.
The other thing is also is that the vaults are, as far as I understand it, they're the responsibility of the building owner. So if any work has to be done on them, it has to be done by the building owner that owns those vaults.
Okay. And I thought there was some other issue, Lucian, besides the vaults.
Well, we also have MTA subway stations and whatnot in the area that we can't, go in and touch because some in certain areas, like I was up on 86 and Lex, and we were supposed to take out the sidewalk on a corner and rebuild the corner sidewalk. The guy took a jackhammer to the sidewalk and went right into the station. He had like a 2-inch diameter hole looking into the train station.
Wow.
So some of these sidewalks are actually the roofs of train stations.
Right.
So you really can't touch those locations. And I think it might be on, I know one place on Lafayette and Worth on the northwest corner, there's like a steel plate there. That's actually like the subway station and an access route right there. There's like a, so we really can't touch those areas under our contracts.
So was there some conversation though had with the residents so that they understand what the problems were?
I'm not sure. I didn't really talk to the resident. I didn't personally, but I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you, but I do know that.
So we'll follow.
Yeah.
I'll follow up.
We'll follow up.
Okay.
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 Yeah,
like I said,
the other issue, Pat, that you were thinking of was the abandoned bus shelter.
MTA bus shelter.
Destroyed. It's a destroyed bus shelter. So I'm going to ask DOT if not. At first they were saying that they didn't want to attempt to remove it with the MPT there, but now that everything seems to be all cleared out, that shouldn't be an issue. We'll see if they're willing to take it out.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm sorry, Walkman.
Okay, no problem. Next location, same project. We're also replacing some street lights. We're not putting in any new ones or additional ones. We're just putting new lights on where old ones were, replacing the old ones. I think there's probably, I'm not really sure of the number, probably like between 10 and 15 of them or something like that, but that's going to be ongoing as we go. Also, we're doing some sidewalk replacements. Some of the sidewalk is being replaced by the contractor. So you might see them out there cutting out certain sections of sidewalk and pouring new sidewalks in certain areas. Okay. And we're still hoping to get this job done by the end of June this year. So that's still on the books as being the deadline, but as we say, never know, but that's what we think. We hope we're going to get it done by this year.
So Worth Street.
June.
Worth
Yes.
Street. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Next project I have is Vestry Street. They returned from the winter break and started doing cobblestones again. So they're working on the corner of Hudson and Vestry, doing cobblestone work there. and they're trying to get permission to do the closing of Vestry and Varick Street on the other end of the project, so that they can do the cobblestone just going around the corner, and then come back and do the walkways on Hudson Street and Vestry, because that they want to get that end down there done. Hopefully, we can maybe get it done before Memorial Day, but don't hold me to it.
And you know, Walker, we've talked about cobblestones a lot, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about it again tonight.
I'm
So
sure.
who's overseeing that work is being done so that we will not have, 12 months from now, we won't have it in
Well,
disrepair?
we have an engineering firm that's hired to supervise the entire project. Cobblestones is basically the end part of that project. So once we finish up the cobblestones, the job is pretty much done. So we do have an engineering firm that is hired to supervise that work.
So they supervise the laying of the cobblestones, and then I know there was a warranty on the work, and that warranty is how long? That lasts for how long?
It's 18 months. As long as it's not a state federal funded project, it's an 18-month guarantee on it.
So this is an 18-month guarantee on this work?
Yep. Once we finish the work and we accept it, there's an 18-month guarantee from that point.
I think the end date, do you have any kind of, possible end date for this job?
Well, we're also talking the end of June this year, in a month and a half.
Okay, so end of June, and that would
Yeah.
be all of the cobblestones would be laid by the end of June without any
Yes.
problem. Yeah. So
Right.
so
It should all be
18 months. So
And
18
then-
months from June.
Yeah, and then 18 months from June, so June 22, June 23. So December 2023, we do another inspection and check it out and make sure everything's okay. If there's some damage, we have them, fix it, because it's part of a punch list at the end of the 18-month guarantee. And then after that is completed, then the job is over and there is no more guarantee after that point.
So can I ask you a favor, if you would remember this? When it comes time to do the walkthrough at the end of the 18 months, before you sign off on it, can you either have us from the community board walk through with you and take a look at it, or, we get some sort of report on what you found, something, so that we don't
Yeah.
have to go through, what we're going through with the other streets that have been in disrepair for 10 years.
Yeah, we can do that, no problem. Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Walkman.
Okay.
All
I
right.
just gotta remind me, because that's gonna be December of 2023.
Okay, I
Okay.
will. I
Okay.
will.
Okay, I have one of my men here, Mr. Frankie Lau. He can let you know about Front Street and Greenwich Street.
Fantastic. Hi, Frankie.
Hey, Pat, how are you?
Are we come back to
Doing
ask a
well.
question after this?
Do you have something about what
Yes,
Walker
yes.
just said?
I forgot the gentleman's name, but what he was just talking about, he had
That's
mentioned,
Walkman.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Walkman was just talking.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Walkman. I mean, Mr. Wong. Vestry and Greenwich, obviously that needs to be done. But Vestry and Greenwich, but on Greenwich from Vestry and then one going the 1 block south, between Vestry and 1 block south on Greenwich, might that be included in the Vestry and Greenwich area, or you're just doing Vestry like, the crossway?
No, we're just doing from Hudson Street to eastbound towards Varick, right near the
Okay.
end where it loops around towards Lake. We're
Right.
ending at that right where it's
Okay.
to the right. We end there, and we end on the west side of Hudson Street.
Okay, so I guess you'll come back to that, the going down later. And then one other thing, this might be applicable to you, I'm not sure. I just happened to be walking the other day, the intersection of Chambers and Greenwich, and there was a giant hole in the street that would take out a car, a bicyclist, anything. It was like really dangerous. It was like a big hole, almost like something was construction that was not finished, but it wasn't construction. It was just, did anybody report that, or?
I don't remember hearing anything about that. But I'm not sure if that's
Just
on.
letting you know, there was something about a week ago, and I forgot to take a picture of it to send it to the community board because it was raining, and I was just, but just wanted to
So
like.
Mitch, can you
Is
do
it a
that this
pothole?
week?
It
Are
was
we
like
talking about a
giant
pothole?
pothole.
So I think you should report that to City DOT. 311 has a, I think you could go 311, you could report potholes, and then they would, City DOT
But
would come
yeah,
out
it
and
was
do that
like more
repair.
than that. Okay, no
Okay,
problem. I
Mitch,
just
can
didn't
you
want
take
to
a
have something to
picture
think
this
about.
week and send it to Lucian, please, with the location?
I'll walk by there sometime this week to see if it's still there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can
Jill,
I
do
ask
you
if-
have your hand up?
Laura,
Yes.
yeah, I have my hand up. May I ask
Yes.
a question? Hi, everybody. Mr. Wong, I wanted to know, like, are you aware of the issues we've been having on Greenwich Street with the cobblestone paving that is basically like unwalkable? It's completely installed in a it wasn't installed properly at all.
Well, you know, we're going
Yes,
to have that
I've
conversation.
driven down that road a bunch of times, and I know the jarring feeling you get going down it. Yes, I've seen it.
So, I mean, in my mind, it wasn't installed properly because there wasn't good supervision. And I don't know who the engineering firm is who's supposed to, you know, do the quality control on this, but I hope it's not the same one as Greenwich Street. Like, what is DDC going to do to make sure that we get properly laid streets when you do all this work?
Well, the streets that we're doing nowadays we're just going by what the specification tells us to do, and we just make sure they do it as per the spec. You know,
But they didn't do
word
that
for word.
before. I'm a landscape architect. I do a lot of street work. I have the specs. There is no way that what you guys did there before follows the specs. So I just wanted to know what what the agency is doing to improve on what happened here before.
To tell you the truth, that project was probably way before my time. I wasn't around for it, so I do not know how they laid those cobblestones in Greenwich Street that you're referring to. I do know I've driven them, but I don't know. What I've been told is that there are many people who come in, utilities usually, plumbers, electricians. Since everything's in the ground, anytime you have a building going up or upgraded building, services to a building, they have to dig into the road, which is the cobblestone road. And most of the time, they don't put them back the way they're supposed to be put back. So you might see a big settled area. You know, I mean, there's a lot of.
You know what? I understand that, but like the reason the city created DDC was to coordinate all this construction activities in the roadway. And
okay, Laura, I'm sorry
Go
to
ahead,
interrupt.
Go ahead.
We're going to, and Gerald and Diane, I see hands up about cobblestones. We are going to have a separate cobblestone discussion in a minute. So if it's about cobblestones, can you hold until
okay,
that?
I'll hold on.
Gerald, is your question about cobblestones?
Well, yes and no. My question is not specifically about cobblestones. It's about DDC and the statement that, when these things get torn up, they don't put them back the way they're supposed to. My question, since we have a representative here, is, what is the quality control? Who is reviewing that, and how on every project that gets torn up?
Can we hold that until we have our cobblestone discussion?
Well, will there be somebody from DDC? Excuse me. Will there be somebody from DDC coming?
Everybody, hold on a second.
Pat, if I
Frankie?
could chime in. Look,
Yeah, Frankie, go ahead.
So what Walkman was talking about, and a lot of times the utilities come in after, like, for example, when we reconstruct the road, they come in, or a plumber will come in and they do the utility cuts for, for example, a building or a layout and whatnot. No, at that point, DDC as an agency, we're responsible for reconstructing certain contracts that's put out by the city, correct? And then after our projects are complete, we turn that street over back to the city, which is City DOT. They manage the roads. So City DOT has an inspection unit. They do come and watch the restoration, but that's something, that does fall through the cracks. The utilities do come out in the middle of the night and do work. They'll that's an inspection issue on who City DOT that does final inspection on this stuff, right? We come in. Our responsibility is to manage the project and manage and create the project, right?
Frankie, it's not answering the question, but I really would like to wait till we get to the cobblestone discussion. Is someone from DDC going to remain with us while we have the cobblestone discussion?
Hi, Pat, this is Marlene. I'll stay on for the cobblestone discussion.
Okay. Okay, because
However,
we
I
do
did
want to know
receive
who,
a resolution
we
and
want to know
by
who's
DOT.
responsible, who does the inspection, but let's leave that for the cobblestone discussion. Right now, I'd like to get through all of the projects in the community, and then we can come back to the cobblestone discussion. Diane Lapson, is that okay with you? Okay, Gerald,
I have
okay
one
with
question
you?
then. I have one question then regarding projects. Greenwich Street, the Greenwich Street project. Do we have a time frame on that? It looks like I know they've started down around Barclay and Greenwich.
Pat, Pat, I'm gonna go through Greenwich and front.
Right.
So do you want to go start with front, or do you want to
Yeah.
go with Greenwich? Up to you.
Frankie, you just do what you were going to do with your presentation, and then we'll ask questions based on your presentation. So go
Okay.
for it.
Okay. Thanks so much.
I usually start with front. The Front Street project, we're still ongoing. We're actually that completion date's been pushed out to October of 23. We've encountered a lot of utility interference. We've installed over 20 separate electrical conduit runs, totaling over 9,000 feet of conduit for Con Edison. We've rebuilt a lot of their infrastructure. We've removed a lot of trolley track excavation. So that's where we are. We've also managed to start the city work. We installed a couple of catch basins. We found a couple of sections of damaged sewer that nobody knew about. It was, for example, at Old Slip, there was a section of sewer that was shaved off. That was damp, like pretty much the whole top of it was cut off by a utility. So we've managed to repair that. So that's the reason why we've run into delays, and our time on that project is out until October of 23.
Okay.
So we did have 2 crews running on that job. Now we're flipping back to 1. We've done all the utility work. We started at Old Slip, we worked all the way up to John. We did all the utility work. Now we flipped back to Old Slip, and we're starting the city work. So we're starting to do the basins. We're trying to get the basins in, and then the roadways and the sidewalks. Slowly but surely we're coming along on that one.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on Front Street? No.
No.
All right. Greenwich. Okay. Greenwich. Status quo where we just we started that project. NTP was November of last year. We started pretty much major work beginning of this year. We were at the Barclay intersection. We've encountered, we have a big Verizon hub coming out of 140 West. So there's a lot of utility interference coming out of ECS, Verizon stuff that's out through that intersection, pretty much through that first block. For example, that northeast corner of Barclay and Greenwich, we tried to put in a basin. We found 60 ECS conduits that was in the way. So yeah, that's not a lot. We found on the other side we have over 150 that we have to relocate. So we're trying to find lanes to move everything to accommodate all our work.
Right.
So the plan now is we're finishing that side, and the contractor's trying to keep mobile, so he's trying to hopscotch as much as he can, so he doesn't sit down and stall when he runs into interference issues.
Okay.
So you might see it. So he started working at the Barclay intersection. He's jumping back and forth. He's gonna go to the south side of Barclay, where World Trade 77 is going to be, and we have work on that south side. Then we have to flip to the west side of Greenwich between Barclay and Park Place. That location has a lot of interference. Plus, we're bumping out that sidewalk and removing the 20-inch water main from under that sidewalk. Again, like I reported last time, the majority of our work is going to be on that first block. The first 2 blocks, which would be for Greenwich from Barclay to Murray. I would say the bulk of our work is going to be at those 2 blocks. And to top it off, we just met with City DOT and NYPD and the mayor's office regarding the Wall Street, the American Heart Association run in mid-May.
Right.
So we have to give back a lot of that space for the run. So
How much time is that going to cost you?
we're gonna shut down. We have to shut down for the week.
Okay, so you're losing a week approximately.
We're losing a week. We have to pretty much button everything down, reduce a lot of the footprint down to pretty much a lane and a half from what we have now. To give that back, we have to make everything safe, so everybody has a good running surface. So we're working on that. But we also had a conversation with them. I began the conversation with them at the meeting, and I said, well, what we have this year is going to be totally different from what we have next year, because when we flip to that west side, we might not be able to give back that much space.
Right.
So depending on where we are by this time next year, we might have to have a conversation a lot earlier about this event.
And we're asking that the event be later in the year anyway. So
Okay, is that what it is?
When we get to next year, let's let's all have a conversation about that, please.
Okay, yeah, because we might be on we should be on that west side with that whole sidewalk open, and I can't give anything back because they're bumping out the sidewalk. They're putting BNY Bank in New York is putting the bollards out there, and I have to move the water main out of the way. So there's a lot of moving pieces when we get to that west side. So just to give you and everybody heads up, we're gonna be there for a while. Yep.
Right. Before we proceed, so are you finished with the Greenwich Street report?
Yeah, pretty much. We've been working with Bank of New York. There's no issues with them. I'm not sure if anybody else has any issues.
Okay,
We've
so
tried to
then
accommodate a lot of the
Gerald
parking.
had- Mhm.
And
Gerald
yeah,
had
anybody
a
has
question.
questions.
Yeah, Gerald had a question.
Frankie, this is Lucian. If you want us to try to, if you don't think it's too late, we can try to help minimize the disruption that the race is going to put on the work, like we have with other projects in the past. We're always happy to help try to push the mayor's office to not shut you down.
Yeah, we met last week. We have a follow-up meeting with them in a couple of weeks. We're pretty much gonna, we haven't, we have a couple of locations where we're not that deep that we can give back space. We're more than we can accommodate. We're trying to do so. So I think this year we'll be okay. But then moving forward, depending on where you are next year, we might ask for your help.
Right. If it's like a backfill cover re-excavate situation, but let's next year let's reach out to them like a couple months ahead of the race. That way we know that we can get them to not mess with you all, because I want you all to finish on time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I said, that's that. Yeah. And I mean, other than that, I think we're okay. Does anybody have any concerns or questions?
Yeah, Gerald had a question about Greenwich Street.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Yeah, Frankie, one comment is that intersection at Greenwich and Barclay. I know that the along Barclay Street is torn up a big hole. Getting around, there's not much room at that intersection on the sidewalk in particular. Staging areas have taken up most of the room, and it's maybe two people can get in there past each other due to street. I think there's a street lamp there and a fire hydrant, et cetera. But my big concern is that I don't know the proper terminology for the folks that stand out there and hold the stop, don't stop signs or slow or whatever. But I've been walking through there daily for quite some time, and those folks are rarely actually doing anything. They're standing off to the side on a cell phone, this, that, and the other thing. And, as you may or may not know, Barclay Street, when the light changes, people are hitting 50, 60 miles an hour just to get to West Street. It's extremely dangerous. I've seen a number of folks almost get run over there, not paying attention. But it's very, very dangerous. And my comment is just to please have the folks, the crossing guards, do their job. They shouldn't be standing behind equipment or off to the side. They need to be out in the middle of the intersection, actually paying attention to the lights and the pedestrians. So if you could look into that, I appreciate
I will
it.
look into that. I will reiterate that to them. I've actually have no issue. The times where I've been, and I try to go at least once a week. I found the flaggers to be pretty good at that location. There are instances, and I've seen it myself this past week, that people just walk, they're on their phones and they walk right into the work zone. So it's a lot of, I think there's a lot of that as well. A lot of people not paying attention. We do, the flaggers are there to give direction and try to have, keep the pedestrians safe. And again, I'll have a conversation again with them, again in regards to that, just to get them to put that effort. But the times I've been there, I haven't seen an issue. But again, I'm not there the whole day. But I'll look into it. I'll get back to you guys.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Frankie.
No problem.
Alice? Oh, I'm sorry, Gerald, are you done?
Yeah, Pat, I am. Thanks.
Okay. Alice?
Yeah, just quickly, I know there's a lot of people waiting to hear about the jail, which is critically important. So just a quickie, if I could get some follow-up, Frankie, I'm not on this committee. I'm vice chair of Community Board 1, and it's nice to meet you. I just am curious, could you just quickly explain if this has anything to do with the work, and sorry that I don't know this, of the Bank of New York's plaza work and that sort of thing that was going on, I guess, quite a few months ago now.
So the bank in New York, what they're doing is they're doing bollards. They're putting bollards all around the building.
So that was actually passed. I know that the community was on record for opposing that strongly.
So they're actually we're coordinating with them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. My field office is with them. I jump in from time to time. I think they're still in the process of getting a contractor to perform the work for them. They haven't finalized that as of yet. So that's where our work comes in. We're bumping out that sidewalk. Because if you stand on Greenwich Street, the sidewalk on the next block where Whole Foods is, it's bumped out further. So we're gonna bump out that sidewalk to meet that sidewalk, do a sidewalk alignment. And then they're gonna come in once we have, and then right now our water main is under the existing sidewalk, so we're relocating that out into the road, building the new curb, and they're gonna come in and put the bollard line in.
Okay, Lucian, this could be a meeting unto itself. I think we need an update on the plans for 240 Greenwich Street to see how this work is dovetailing with the work that was proposed by the bank in terms of outdoors plaza, the bollards, which I know certain commissioners on the City Planning Commission were very much against. But just if we could get a plan of what's going on and to better understand where this project is headed.
I could have my field office at their next meeting tell them that you guys are looking for such information, if that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen. I mean, all I've seen from them was their bollard plan. Phil, are you on the line, Phil?
Yeah, I don't want to take more time. Thanks very much, Frankie, because it would require a review, which will go to the Land Use Committee. So when I know Lucian will go back with you and figure out offline. But thank you very much for giving us whatever you can on those plans.
Field office. I'll talk to them and see if they know anything, or I'll let them know that next time they speak to them to let them know that CB1 is asking. And then we'll go from there.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Lucian, also, and Pat.
Okay, this is Walkman again. Something real quick. I just want to go through something real fast. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, like about 4 or 5 future projects that are coming out down in this area. I just want to go real fast. Vesey Street, which is between Church and Broadway.
I'm sorry, Walkman.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Betty if she had a question about Greenwich Street?
Oh, sure.
Oh, well, actually, I just had a comment to make. Since I just finished up a resolution we're going to be talking about next week for this year's American Heart Association. And to let them know, because he and Lucian were speaking about maybe a month or 2 in advance next year, talking about the route. I want to alert them that the Battery Park City portion of the race is going to be completely thrown out next year. So the race is going to be dramatically altered in where it needs to be. So for them to all consider, it's going to be a longer time frame to get ready for next year's race of the American Heart Association.
Because all of the work that's going to be done in Battery Park City.
Because of shutting down for the resiliency project, yes, they won't be able to use Battery Park City portion.
Okay, so I think that Lucian, there needs to be.
That was just a reminder to both parties.
Next year. Okay, Great. Thank you,
Frankie, I
Patty.
can brief you on what Betty's talking about, so
Right.
you have a deeper.
Alice, would you take your hand down, please? Laura, do you have a question for Greenwich Street? Oops, Laura? Ms. Starr?
No, I don't. I apologize.
That's all right. Would you take your hand down, please?
Sorry. Yep.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Frankie, are you finished?
Yeah, if you have any more questions, let me know.
Okay, and Alice, you put your hand back up. Oh, Alice took her hand down again. Okay, so now Walkman, go with the new project. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
like I said, Vesey Street is between Church and Broadway. It's a 1 block street. Probably will start sometime at the end of the summer. West Broadway, which is between Thomas and Leonard Street, that's going to start probably June, July of this year, probably in 2-3 months. Okay. Trinity Place, which is going to be between Morris and Cedar, that's probably going to be the summer of 2023
Okay, hold on
before
one
that
minute.
starts. Okay.
That's a personal. Trinity Place, yeah.
Okay, and then Nassau
Between what?
Street.
Wait, I'm sorry. Trinity between
Trinity
what?
Place between Morris and Cedar.
And what are you doing there?
It's basically going to be like a road reconstruction, that kind of stuff, curb to curb. I think there might be some catch basins. I'm not sure if there's water mains and whatnot in there or not, but it's supposed to be kind of like a road job.
And starting when?
Summer of like 23.
Okay, we can talk about it then and when it comes
Walkman,
up. Let me
do you
just
think that you'll be able to maintain travel lanes throughout
That's
that project?
I'm not sure, depending on what the steps are, and I'm sure we're probably going to have to maintain some type of travel lane going
Yeah,
through
because
the
that's a
area.
sensitive area, and
Yeah,
we will
yeah.
have to have a conversation. Just go backwards. So the West Broadway between Thomas and Leonard, when does that start?
Probably July this year, so in a couple months.
And what
We're
about the
we're
Vesey?
trying to wait for the scaffolding to come down in front of the Western Union building, but we're going to
Okay.
try to work above it, 1 block above it, so that we can do some work up there, and then work our way down. Hopefully, they say that the scaffolding will be gone by July this year, so hopefully
Okay.
it'll work out.
And
Okay,
the vestry between Church and Broadway, when is that starting?
that's gonna be like August, September of 2022.
Okay. And
And
then, so, okay, go.
and then we have Nassau Street, which is gonna be between Pine and Maiden Lane.
Okay,
And,
hold on 1 second. I'm sorry, hold on. Pine
okay.
and Maiden Lane. Rosa,
Yes, ma'am.
that's you.
I know. And how long
When
is
is that
gonna be?
starting?
Probably around January of 23.
January 23. So Rosa, you'll have to come back to hear more about that. And okay, next
Okay,
project.
that's pretty much it for the future projects in Lower Manhattan for you guys.
So 4 future projects, right?
And
so far.
2, 3, 4, yeah, 5.
What's the 5th one? I have
No, wait.
Vestry,
1,
West
2,
Broadway,
3,
Trinity,
4.
and Nassau.
Yeah, that's 4. Sorry.
Okay.
It's only 4. Yep. Okay. Sorry about that.
May I ask
Okay,
anything?
I'm done. That's pretty much our jobs.
Okay. Who was just
Hi, Pat. That was me. Sorry. Can I ask a quick question about how long we anticipate Trinity Place and the Nassau Street projects to take?
I don't have that information with me. I'm sorry. I can get back to you.
For that, yeah, we can get back to you. Pat.
Okay.
I think Trinity was 3 years. I believe Trinity was that was a 3-year
Trinity was
contract.
3?
Yeah,
Okay.
That sounds
Nassau
terrible.
Nassau should be 24. I think I have that. I have that one. That's 2 years.
That
24
all
months,
sounds
not years.
terrible. I got to tell you guys, it
Got it.
sounds terrible. All right, so when you will come back and we will specifically discuss these projects.
Okay.
Because these are very sensitive, like Trinity is, very narrow and,
Yep.
and all right, we won't talk about it because we got a lot on the agenda.
Sure.
Any other ongoing projects that we need to discuss? Anything going on Water Street?
It's not
Hi,
one
good
of our
evening, Pat.
projects.
How are you? It's Scott Payne.
Hi, Scott.
How's everything?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, good. So
I'm
my
sorry.
update-
Before you start, Scott, though,
Sure.
Walkman, did you have something else you want to say?
No, that's it for me.
And Frankie, you're finished?
I'm good, Pat.
Great, thank you both. Hi, Scott.
Hey,
You
so
come here and talk to us about Water Street?
yes, on water
Okie dokie,
between
we're
Quintus
ready.
Slip and Hanover Square.
I'm
we're
sorry,
con-
Scott, can you talk a little louder?
Sure, hold on one second.
Mm,
Can you hear me a little better now?
I think so. So what's between what street and what street were we talking about?
On water from Quintus Slip and Hanover Square.
Mm-hmm.
The contractor is continuing to excavate for Con Edison's electric conduit installation.
Mm-hmm.
And at the intersection of Whitehall and Pearl, the contractor is continuing to work on Verizon's conduits to put in telephone lines. Water Street from Broad to Quintus Slip, they're also continuing excavation for Con Ed's gas installation. And our fourth location, water from Wall to Pine, we're continuing to excavate for Con Edison's electric conduit installation there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And last week we met in the field with DOT Special Events to discuss the two events that you already spoke about. Well, the May 1st, the 5 Borough Bike Tour, and the May 19th, the Wall Street Run and Heart Walk. And we'll be having a follow-up meeting on May 3rd to see where we're at with that as far as, providing safety on for that walk.
So
But,
you're meeting May 3rd to talk about the May 19th.
yes, as a follow-up with
Right,
DOT
May 1st is
Special.
already resolved, I guess.
Yes, we're gonna make that deadline to have everything.
So Scott, talk to us, any idea when these projects in Water Street will be, finished and completely, all the work will be done at all the intersections?
Right. So I mean, our scheduled end date is supposed to be in summer of 2024.
Summer
However,
2024?
yes. We do have quite an extensive amount of, Con Edison and ECS work, as you know.
Right.
So, we'll try our best to get to that date and, give everybody the two plazas that, everybody's been waiting for, which is going to look beautiful when that's finished. But there's so much underground work to be done, and the hand excavation that takes quite some time.
Right.
So right now we're almost done with the excavation by Wall and Pine. So we'll actually be able to start installing some of those conduits, I would say in mid-May, which is good.
Good.
Yes.
And you will be back, we know, so you will fill us
Yes.
in 2 months
Absolutely.
on what's going on.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to tell us?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the events, and hopefully they'll have great weather for it.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions about any of the Water Street projects? Any part of the Water Street project? No? Okay. Anybody from the public, Lucian, that has any questions about anything? No? So DDC,
Wait, Mark is in the attendee section. His hand is up. He may just be asking to be moved over, or he has something to ask. I'm gonna move him over, and we'll just see really quick.
Okay.
You go, Mark. Mark.
Ms. Cole was on. I saw Susan here. Susan, are you here?
And Mariama.
Did Susan leave?
I'm here. I'm here.
Did you have any?
That was it. I just wanted to be moved over. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that, Mark.
Susan, did
No
you have any
problem.
questions about the work that was going to be done at Hanover?
My only question is, are they all considering resiliency? I mean, I don't know whether one hand is talking to the other. That's my only question.
Anybody can answer that? Well, I think Alice would have something to say about which.
I'm trying to just keep composed here with that question, but let's just say I'm not entirely aware of that, but it's a great question, and we'll get follow-up from
That
the
I
mayor's
think that
office of
would
climate
be,
resilience.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, whether DDC, Con Ed, everyone's talking to everybody else. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you for this portion of our DDC program. The next part of it is about the jail. So, who's here to discuss what's going on with the deconstruction of the jail, the detention complex?
Hi, this is Lauren Messier with the...
And Lauren, before you, I'm sorry, Lauren. Yep. Walkman and Frankie, as always, and Scott, thank you very much. We appreciate all of the information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Bye-bye.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome. So here we go. Hi.
Hi, everyone. This is Lauren Messier. I'm with the AECOM Hill Joint Venture, managing the program on behalf of DTC. Let me just share my screen and we will get going. Screen mode. Okay, everyone can see my screen okay?
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, so tonight we are here to present about the Manhattan site of the Borough-based jails program. One note off the top, there's obviously, there's a lot of different pieces of this project. We will be coming back to the community board. We are excited to do that in May, early in May, to the Land Use Committee for a presentation on the Sallyport design updates. So this presentation tonight is only covering the dismantle project. And we're also not talking about the new facility. That'll be another contract further down the line. So tonight we are here to present updates on what's happening with the dismantle of the existing facility. So we'll go over a schedule update, where we're at with the project to date, what's upcoming. We'll review community engagement touch points and resources that are available to the community members in between presentations like this one. I will then hand it off to Rich from Gramercy, our contractor, who is handling the dismantle projects for specific updates about this and milestones, and then we'll open it up for questions. I also just want to provide a note below. This presentation will be made available also in the future with a Chinese translation that we'll be putting on the website, and we'll talk about it on a future slide, but we do have an upcoming touch point with leaders in Chinatown in which we'll be presenting this same content, but also in Chinese. So we are not joined tonight by Sasha from DOC, who usually presents this slide, but just as an overall sort of overview and to ground the content tonight in the broader context of the Borough-based jails program. So this Manhattan project is part of the city's effort and commitment to close Rikers Island by 2027. And we are going to be replacing the current 8 facilities that New York City has on Rikers Island, in addition to the Vernon C. Bain Center in the Bronx, also known as the Barge, replacing those with 4 smaller, safer, and fairer jails in each of the boroughs, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. And that'll be reducing the overall current jail capacity of about 9,800 beds and bringing that number down to 3,500. So this is part of, an overall decarceration program for the city of New York. And we also want to emphasize that the Borough-based jails program is also part of a broader, focus on reentry and culture change. And so part of the design of the new jails is a focus on programming, therapeutic housing, and rehabilitation for people in custody. Getting into the schedule, so we're now in April of 2022. The contractor, the Gramercy Group that's with us here tonight, they received their notice to proceed to begin the dismantle portion of the project last December in 2021. And so their contract includes dismantling the existing facilities, as well as constructing the interim Sallyport, which again, we're coming back to the community board to present updates on that later. The interim Sallyport construction is slated to go from May through August of this year, and we are looking at a dismantle completion in the second quarter of 2023. The new facility design and construction, just to reiterate this, for those of you, I think many of you have heard it before, but it is part of a separate contract that'll be happening in the future. So again, our contractor that's here tonight is only for the dismantle. We are currently in the process of procuring a separate design build contractor that will be designing and constructing the new facility. We expect them to have the selected contractor, their notice to proceed in the first quarter of next year, 2023. And that is all leading towards substantial completion of the project by the third quarter of 2027. I also just want to point out we're highlighting on this slide in the beginning phase of the facility design and construction. Again, once we have the new contractor on board, the new design builder, we bring them back and we will set up touch points with the community in which we can solicit some more input from community members on the design of the new facility. So we'll be kind of showing you where we're going with that and getting input along the way. I can't seem to change the slide. Okay. In terms of community engagement and resources, so this is the snapshot of engagement that's been done to date. Again, we are aiming to ramp up our community engagement. And so you can kind of see on this slide what we're showing is I think we're well on the way of having more touch points with this community, specifically in Manhattan, than we have in past years in 2021 or 2020. We're continuing those efforts. I know we're going to get some questions, and we have in the past, about the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. We are actively working to reconvene that group. City Hall is managing that process, and we're finalizing the membership for that, and we will be kicking those meetings off again as soon as possible. We are also committed to doing community board presentations ongoing throughout design and construction. And as I mentioned earlier, our next touch point, we are scheduled for the May 9th Land Use Committee, in which we'll be providing the updates on the interim Sallyport design. And finally, next week on the 28th, we are having our briefing with Chinatown leaders. And again, that's where we'll have, it's the same presentation that we're showing tonight. We're just going to be providing it also with a Chinese translation. And again, in between touch points, when we're coming to the community board or the NAC or other groups, there are always resources that are available, you know, at all times for the community, including our website, our community construction liaison, Pauline Chan. She has a designated phone number. We will issue newsletters. We do weekly look-aheads and advisories in advance of impactful construction activities. And Pauline does have an office that's located on 110 Walker Street. It's a snapshot of our website and samples of the types of materials that you can find there. And finally, here's again on your screen now, Pauline Chan, our community construction liaison's office, 110 Walker, right by the site. And this is her phone number and her email address. So we do encourage all community members, Pauline is the day-to-day contact that is available for all community members to reach out to. If you have questions about the program, concerns, please don't hesitate to contact her. However, I also want to note that, her job is to receive questions and, concerns and comments from the community and relay them back to our team, to City Hall, and get responses back out to the community. Please be respectful when you are communicating with her. It's not her job to just take a whole bunch of personal comments. Please refrain from personal attacks or personal remarks. She is a professional out here doing a job, and she's a resource for this community. So thank you. And at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Rich Peterson from the Gramercy Group, our contractor handling the dismantle, to go through some more project details. Rich, if you're talking, you're probably still muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I was muted also. Richard, are you there?
Lauren, are you keeping the slides, or should I also move the presentation to Richard?
I'll keep flipping through the slides. That's fine.
And that first slide had some deadlines. Can we get that slide for the full board meeting?
Sure. I'm actually, give me 1 second. I'm getting a phone call from Mitch. He might be having some technical issues.
Okay, doke.
So Rich is unable to unmute himself. He's not listed as a panelist. It's Richard Peterson from Gramercy.
Okay, Richard's moved over now. He should be able to unmute himself.
Okay. All right, Rich, let us know when you're able to unmute.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Can you see me now?
There we go.
Yeah. Good evening, Richard.
Loud and clear. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry about that little issue there. Hello, everybody. I'm Rich Peterson. I am with the Gramercy Group. I am part of the design build team, and I'm here to give you guys an update on where we are with the dismantling process. So right now we are in April. During January, I reported we were working on our site assessment and surveys. We are now in April, where we are starting the mobilization and site fencing components of the project. in gearing up to start the interim Sally Port in May. All work removal and storage will also begin once the site is enclosed. And then following through during that process, we'll start the preparatory work for the dismantlement, things such as scaffolding, interior work that you won't be able to see from the outside, and gear for full structural dismantlement third quarter. Just an overview of the site here on the left side of your screen. The north end of the block is where the north and south towers are located. That is where the dismantlement will be occurring. And then on the center of your screen, where the new interim Sally Port will be located. The preparatory phase that is nearing completion now is part of the permit process. Artworks removal and storage. We have been starting the swing space fit out. The hazmat sampling and analysis has been completed. Removal will be starting shortly. Interior non-structural removals have begun. Standpipe modifications are getting ready to begin. HABs and CPP documentations have been ongoing. Temporary electric service will be installed throughout the building. Sidewalk shed, fence, scaffolding, and hoist will begin, has begun. The fence part, the scaffold in the shed will be coming up. And vibration, noise, and dust control systems will be in place before any dismantlement work begins. Structural dismantlement will be going from May to May, and you'll start seeing equipment being hoisted up to the roof prior to structural dismantlement. In case anyone hasn't seen this video before, I will narrate through it, but this is an animation showing the intended concept of taking down the towers. Here you can see the north and south tower. Sidewalk fence and sidewalk sheds will be installed on Center and Baxter. White Street will get protection down the center of it for the oil static line. A new Sally Port, interim Sally Port will be constructed on Center. Here you can see the buses will utilize the existing curb cuts to pull up into the sidewalk area and back into the new Sally Port behind delineators, which aren't shown on this screen. Sidewalk sheds will be erected. Rooftop protection will be installed over the Walker Street property. Scaffold will begin removing the low-rise structures on Center as well as on White. The artwork will be removed, created, and stored. Here you can see the workers removing the 4 pendants on the White Street Bridge. The White Street Bridge will then be dismantled, opening up White Street for staging of the dismantlement operations. Cranes will be brought to the job site. Scaffold will be erected. Dismantlement of the buildings will start from the roof down. You'll see the buildings go floor by floor in a systematic approach. On the south tower, once they reach the bridges that connect to the courthouse, those will be removed, and both towers will be dismantled simultaneously. The process will be repeated floor by floor, with the panels of the exterior being removed last in each phase of the floor. Equipment will be hoisted between the floors utilizing the crane, and steel members will be picked and lowered to the ground. Scaffolding will be dismantled as the buildings are dismantled and trucked off site. I don't know about everybody else, but my video seems to have frozen.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what was happening. Okay, it started again.
Break time. Break time.
So once we reach grade level, the basements will be fractured to eliminate any ponding of water. The White Street tunnel will be sealed up and abandoned in place for future removals. Any openings to the courthouse will be sealed with protection installed to eliminate any forces from the backfill imposing onto the courthouse. Backfill will be placed around the perimeter to support the surrounding sidewalks and properties, and then continuously filled until it reaches grade. And that's how the site will be at the end of our contract for the dismantling.
So when is completion? What's the completion date for this?
Completion date is anticipated third quarter of 23. Now, as part of the dust, noise, and vibration mitigation measures, we will be using wet methods to control the dust that emanates from the project. We'll install curtains and dust suppression devices on the operating floors. As you can see in the bottom right corner, is an example of a water mister. It takes the water from hoses and hydrants and creates a fine mist that grabs the dust particles and brings them directly to the ground. In the top right corner, you will see an example of the electric Brock. This equipment runs on electric power, no diesel, no fumes, and no idling. The noise mitigations that we will utilize is sound absorbing materials, things such as curtains and barriers surrounding the work areas so that there's way for the sound to reverberate back into the job site. Debris will be lowered into trucks to avoid the banging of the loads of the trucks. And for vibration, we will cushion any debris that are brought down to the down chutes, and we will use the cranes to lower debris to the greatest extent possible. We will use properly sized equipment so that any noise from the machines is minimized. We're not going to use a hammer that's too small, that creates a ton of constant noise that's ineffective. We will be sizing the equipment appropriately so that we minimize any dust and vibration and noise. Around the perimeter of the job site, you will see various monitoring equipment. This will be either around the sidewalk levels or actually installed in neighboring buildings. This equipment will be set up to give us real-time alerts to our team, to the city officials, and to the monitoring company themselves. We get alerts at action levels. These are below the permissible exposure levels. What that allows us to do is get a reading that there is something occurring prior to it being above a threshold that's not tolerable. So by having that early action warning, we're able to adjust and change our methods and address anything that may be occurring so that we are not causing any nuisance to the community. Here's an overview of the site. The red dotted line that you see on this drawing shows the fence that is starting to be erected, as some of you may have seen visiting the site. White Street will be closed between Baxter and Center Street, anticipated to be towards the end of next week. So that area will no longer be accessible to the public. Sidewalk sheds will be installed on Center and on the north end of Baxter, where you can see the blue hatched shading on this map. We'll be installing a new crosswalk across Baxter Street just south of Bayard. And there'll be a new stop sign installed just north of Bayard for traffic coming southbound on Baxter. This will allow pedestrians to cross at Walker and Baxter, walk down Baxter, and be able to cross back onto the west side of Baxter Street. This will be in place before we close the sidewalk on the west side of Baxter, as you can see here on this drawing. Regarding the trees on the site, the 8 existing street trees are there are 8 existing street trees currently on the site. As part of the dismantlement, 4 of them will need to be removed, and we are providing the funding to the Parks Department to fund 112 new trees off-site. As part of this project, 30 street trees will be added on site by the end of the project's completion in 2027, which is part of the next phase, not technically Gramercy's phase, but I wanted to make sure you understood that. White Street, White Street was demapped as part of the 2019 BBJ ULURP approval. The trees being moved along White Street are within our property line and therefore are not considered street trees. During the facility contract, White Street will be redesigned with community input, including landscaping design proposal. Traffic management plan. And as we've discussed previously, we understand everyone's concerns and that Baxter Street entrance to the job site is a secondary option. The bold blue lines here are the primary truck routes for debris and for equipment coming to and from the site. Trucks will head north on Center Street, either pull or back into White Street, and then exit White Street heading north on Center up to Canal Street.
How many trucks per day?
I presented that in the past. I believe it was roughly 1 an hour, but I don't have those numbers in front of me. Again, we'd have to go back to the old slide. I didn't prep that number at the top of my head again for today.
Yeah, 1 an hour from how many hours a day?
The typical job site will be 7 to 3:30.
Thank you.
We have done updated traffic counts at the intersections just north of the job site at Walker Walker and Center and Walker and Baxter, as had been done in 2018. And we saw minimal changes, confirming that the counts we had were accurate and that the negligible increases to existing traffic flow are expected. And as I just discussed, we will be dispersing our traffic to and from the site evenly throughout the day, and that all truck queuing will be on White Street within the boundaries of the site.
And with
Rodent
no
and pest
engines
control.
running, right?
Say that again?
The engines will not be running.
No, they will not. There is
Thank
a strict law about idling trucks in New York City.
Exactly. Thank you.
We will be retaining the services of a New York City Department of Health approved rodent and pest control specialist. This firm will visit the site, survey the site to determine if and what type of pest and rodent habitation exists. And before we begin the dismantlement, they will be setting up bait traps in order to capture the rodents and minimize and prohibit the displacement of these pests to other locations within the neighborhood. This firm will also be doing monthly inspections of the site throughout the duration to replenish their stations and bait traps. I'll hand it back to Lauren.
Okay. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the slides we had prepared for this.
Can I just, I'm sorry, Lauren, before you. So bait and trap once a month. In the beginning, can you do it more often than once a month? Because in the beginning, once you just, you start to annoy them and displace them, they really get active. So is it possible to do that inspection and say every week for the first month?
Yeah, we will work with the rodent control company to make sure that it's done, this way the traps aren't overloaded and just sitting there ineffective. We will have, besides the rodent company coming out, our own superintendents will observe and check to make sure that if it's needed, we will call them and make sure they come out.
Great, because living across the street from the World Trade Center and in this area that I live in, where we've had constant construction for 20 years, we have so many rats, it's incredible. So yeah, I think you need to do it often. Thank you.
Understood.
Sorry, Lauren.
No, that's okay. I just was just saying we're at the end of our presentation, so we can open it up for more questions. And actually, just to that point, also wanted to say if you are seeing, extra rodents out on the street, if anything's a cause for concern, again, that's what our CCL is there for. We encourage the community to call, report anything that you're seeing to Pauline. She'll make sure she relays it to, to us, to Gramercy. We'll alert the city departments that need to know.
So Pauline will be there doing real time during, 7 to 3:30. What happens after 3:30 if people see not only rodents, but any problem? Who's there to get the calls?
Sure. So you can still call that number, leave messages, or send emails. We will be checking them, the next day. And in the meantime, anyone can call 311 to reach the city hotline if there's an emergency or something needs to be alerted overnight.
Yeah, I think that you should think about having someone who's on call for overnight instead of 311. The 311 again puts it off until the next day before they send out someone to inspect it. So talk and see if it's possibility to have somebody who is available in real time in case there is an issue, and then it needs to be posted where people can contact that person. Think about it.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks.
I'm gonna just stop sharing my screen just so we can look at it.
Lucian?
Yeah, Lauren, I just wanted to see if you wanted to go ahead and go through the list of notes that we sent along after that walkthrough.
Because I couldn't open it.
Sure. Sure. If you
I
want
can put it on the screen.
you said you're pulling it up on screen? Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. So, yep. So, Lucian, do you want to, I don't know if everyone on the call is aware of the walkthrough. Do you want to give a little summary or context of that? And then we can go to questions? Okay.
Absolutely. So ahead of the meeting that we're in right now, I met with a number of community advocates, the people who are well versed in this project, who live in the area, have deep knowledge of the area and how people use the area. We did a walkthrough to identify issues and to ask questions that were brought up by what we saw. We made use of schematics that were sent ahead of time of the construction fencing and sidewalk shed and chain link fencing. So thank you for that. And so the notes you see here are the product of that walkthrough. So I sent those to Lauren and DDC to look at and be prepared to respond to these notes. And so I just want to see if we could turn these around and hear what you got.
Yep, absolutely. And we can also send back the responses in writing. I have them drafted. I just like to, usually before I send something back, like to have a few other people put eyes on it, just making sure I'm not misspelling or misspeaking, but we can certainly talk through them all right now. So the first question is whether the new crosswalk ramp across Baxter Street will have an ADA ramp on both ends of it. So yes, we will be providing new curb cuts where necessary on both ends of that so that the crosswalk will be ADA accessible.
Wonderful.
Regarding chain link fences, so plans. Oh, sorry, Lucian, were you saying something?
Well, I was just gonna just refer to this map. So if you look at the number 1, that's the crosswalk that's in question here. This is the new crosswalk that they mentioned that they would be putting in before the traffic patterns were changed on the sidewalk.
If you want to, you can leave that up on screen while I read the next question because I think
okay.
Is a solution.
Sorry, Lucian, does that require permitting to do that curb cut?
Or the permitting there's a question about permitting in there. But Lauren, could you just talk to us about the DOT permits? Which DOT permits you have? Which you're seeking?
Yeah. First of all of the we will get permits for all of the work that we need to have permits for on this job. We do currently have the permits for the barriers and the fencing that you're seeing going up in the street. All of our permits are now posted in the window of our CCL office. So those are publicly available. And once the construction fencing is up, all permits for the job site will also be posted publicly on the construction fencing. So anyone can stop by and review and make sure that we have the permits that are necessary. I'm not, Anil or Rich, I don't know if we need a permit specifically for the curb cuts, if you want to address that, but any permits that we need, we are obtaining from all of the city agencies necessary.
This is Anil. Yes, we do have the permit for the crosswalk.
All right, so the second question is regarding, you can see where the number 2 is shown on the screen. It's regarding that little pink line that's extending from the edge of the sort of bluish hatched area, which is the sidewalk shed on Baxter Street. And it's going from there, kind of jogging around the fire hydrant that's on Baxter and then extending to the end of the corner. So making sure I understand the question correctly, but the question is about, so that particular stretch on top of the Jersey barriers will not be the typical construction plywood fencing that's enclosing and securing the construction site. It will be a chain link fencing The purpose of that is to discourage pedestrians from crossing kind of mid-block or, anywhere not at the designated crosswalk. So we don't want to leave that, an open area where people are going to be encouraged to cross the street in a location that might be dangerous with so much activity happening on the site. So we do want folks crossing where it is safe in the designated crosswalk. So that's the purpose of continuing the barrier and having a chain link fence on top. The chain link fence will not be wrapped, so it will remain see-through. So folks exiting that building can see through to the other side. You can see what's happening on the street. We're not creating a blind spot there. And the fence will extend all the way to the corner.
So just to kind of circle back to an issue that was raised earlier with the Jersey barriers replaced in front of 96 Baxter, there were, excuse me, concerns that residents would not have access to the building, whether they're pickup drop-offs with Access-a-Ride or ambulate access to the building. That is generally where these vehicles pull up to have most direct access to the entrance. So having a chain link fence there would inhibit those sorts of services, emergency services, and transportation services. So just to I want you to keep that in mind, that was a concern that was raised, particularly for that fencing.
Understood. And we did meet with Charlie at Chunk Pack to talk through some of those concerns. And again, the alignment of the fencing there was determined, in coordination with DOT and with an overall mind for what is the safest thing we can do for pedestrians and for residents in that site. So we're not preventing vehicles from pulling up and parking there. It's just, folks will have to walk around in order to access the building. So access to the building in that location is maintained, but, not direct access to the curb.
Okay, let's keep on moving.
Okay.
Lauren, let me just add that
if you want to add in, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna be installing a gate there as well, so that Chunk Pack could put out their garbage, and there will be a gate there with keys that Chunk Pack would have access to as well.
Great, thank you, Anil. The third question was about sidewalk sheds and whether we are using the urban umbrella style sidewalk sheds that we agreed to at the outset of the project. So yes, that's confirmed. You saw a schematic rendering of what those look like in the animated walkthrough when Rich was presenting. So we are using the umbrella style sheds. The fourth question is about any temporary parking disruptions on Center Street. So again, as you can see in this drawing, and Anil and Rich, you're welcome to jump in. Right where the number 9 is, there's a hatched area in yellow in front of the Sally Port. So during and we've presented this previously in past presentations when we've gone through kind of the phasing of the dismantle and the Sally Port construction process. While the Sally Port is being constructed, there will be a temporary Jersey barrier in the parking lane directly across from that construction activity, and that's to secure, a safe pedestrian walking path because the sidewalk will be taken up. However, as soon as the Sally Port construction is complete, we will be maintaining a 13-foot 2-inch sidewalk in front of the Sally Port, so that parking restriction will no longer be in place again once the Sally Port is complete. And then there is, you can see across on the other side of Center Street, kind of where that tag mark says vehicle construction entrance with flagger. So there's another temporary parking restriction, and that's kind of the, Rich, how did you describe it? It's a swing area where as vehicles are pulling in and out of White Street. That's kind of directly in that vehicular path. So again, for pedestrian safety, we are, in order to enable those vehicles, we are doing a temporary parking restriction.
And you said it right, the swing radius of the trucks backing in and pulling out.
There we go. Thank you. All right. Fifth question. What are the official working hours, and are there any special circumstances for early work that was already observed? So I think this question is coming up referring to work that was happening on the 13th, last week on April 13th. So the working hours are 7 to 3:30. We are adhering to those to the extent that it's possible. On the morning of the 13th, because there was protest activity occurring And, based on circumstances that were created by the protest, a decision was made on the ground by the contracting team and in coordination with NYPD, who is also there on the site, for pedestrian safety in order to allow construction preparation work, basically dropping off the Jersey barriers, happened a few minutes before 7 a.m. So all construction activity has been and will continue to be done in accordance with all, rules and regulations. It was just, based on the circumstances of that day. Again, for the safety and security of the site, we dropped off materials a few minutes before the official start time of 7. The next question is whether are all the current Jersey barriers that are out there on site and everything that's happening on site permitted by DOT? And the answer is yes, we have permits for all of the work that is ongoing. Tree removal, as you can see on this plan, the trees that are circled with the yellow circles, and as Rich earlier presented, there are some of the street trees that do need to be removed in order for dismantlement to proceed. And the question was whether this is the most conservative tree removal plan that is possible. The answer is yes. The city is always working to avoid as much as possible the loss of any street trees on its projects, including on this one. We don't want to see trees removed that we don't have to remove. So we are working through all the appropriate oversight and approvals. We're working and coordinating with parks and answering all of their questions to make sure that these trees are necessary for removal. And that work is necessary in order for the dismantlement to proceed. But again, we just want to highlight that we are currently in the plan removing 4 street trees, and we will be adding back 30 new trees on the jail site. And again, in White Street, when we have the new design builder on board and we're designing the new facility, that area will be designed as a pedestrian plaza, including landscaping, and we'll be working with the community for input on that area as well. And as Rich noted, with the removal of the 4 street trees on Baxter Street, Gramercy is putting money into the Parks Department Replacement Fund for 112 trees to be planted in the surrounding community. So 30 new street trees on site, and additional funding for another 112 trees to be planted around the community. And if the community wants to voice opinions on where those street trees, the ones that are going off-site, the 112 in the replacement fund, where those should be going, you can call 311 and you can communicate that way with the Parks Department. They do endeavor to replace trees as close to the site where they're removed as possible, so they will be within this community. Next question is regarding the White Street Plaza. Again, so that's the center area in between the 2 buildings. So it's about how that plaza is currently being used as a parking space for DOC. And so again, as part of the new facility contract, that area will be redesigned as a pedestrian arcade. It will have, and this is in the design guidelines that are published on the site, there will be barriers like bollards installed on either end of the site in order to prohibit vehicular traffic and parking, except for maintenance purposes. We are also, that space gets used now as parking because there wasn't a provision in the current facilities for on-site parking for DOC staff. So as part of the design for the new facility, we are including 125 parking spaces for on-site staff. So we are working to mitigate that issue and working to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. The number 9 question is about the temporary Jersey barrier sidewalk detour on Center Street, and will the sidewalk be restored once the temporary Sallyport construction is complete? So yes, again, that's referring to that little yellow hatched area where the number 9 is. So that is a temporary parking restriction only during construction of the Sallyport, and that is to maintain pedestrian access along Center Street on that side of Center Street. That will be removed once the Sallyport construction is complete. And there was a question about the fencing there, whether that's going to be solid or chain link. So that will be, oh, sorry, that's not for number 9 because it's not, there won't be fencing on top of those Jersey barriers, but the typical construction fencing around the site is the plywood fencing. So now we're on to question 10. There was 10 of 14, so only a few more, and then we'll open it up and other people can talk. Asked for, please share the updated timelines for the abatement as well as results and reports. So abatement of the North Tower is expected to begin next week, the week of 4/25, and subsequent reports that are generated on that can be requested via the DDC FOIL process. When I do send this back over to you, Lucian will include also, I mean, I know you have it, but just to make sure, we'll include the link to the DDC FOIL page. Question 11 was about phasing of dismantling and why both buildings are being dismantled at the same time, as opposed to dismantling the northernmost building before the southern building. And that's for scheduling purposes. In order to make sure that we are completing this project on time, we do require that both buildings be dismantled simultaneously. That also allows for the shared use of one crane for both of those buildings so that we're not bringing a second crane out to the site. And question 12. Attendees of that walkthrough requested look-ahead bulletins on any future road closures so they can plan for accessoride and other kinds of personal transportation options as far ahead of time as possible. Absolutely. Again, it's always our aim to provide 72-hour advisories to the community in advance of impactful construction activities. And certainly if we have to close down any streets, which we're not currently planning, we will be notifying the community. Last two, question 13. It said using Baxter Street as the principal route for construction materials and debris removal will have an impact on 96 Baxter and the businesses along Baxter. So again, I think Rich walked us through this on an earlier slide, but Baxter Street is not the principal route for construction vehicular traffic. Center Street is the primary route. Baxter Street is, secondary, kind of as a backup. So we are not running most of the trucks down Baxter Street. And then finally, please share any updated truck routes. So again, that was shown in a previous slide. And this presentation that we gave tonight will be posted on our website following tonight. We'll aim to get it up by the end of the week. And also, again, just to highlight, we will be providing a translated version of this presentation in Chinese, and we'll be putting that on the website as well. So all this information will be accessible in the future. And I know you just ran through this really quickly, so happy to go back if someone needs me to repeat something, or Richard or Neil, if you want to add any additional detail.
Terrific, thank you. It's
Yeah.
getting late.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a couple of questions. Lucian, do you have your hand up because you had some questions?
That I might have been just mashing the keyboard trying to get this screen share set up. So I'm going to just go ahead and lower that down.
Okay, so let's see. I am not seeing Alice. Got anything to say?
I do have quite a few questions, but I'm happy to have the public who have been waiting so patiently to go before me. So if that's okay with you, Pat, I see like a bunch of hands. Few hands.
And remember, everyone, there's a question specifically about this presentation. So anyone from the public have anything to say about the deconstruction plan?
So it looks like we have 3 hands up from the public.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have John, Maureen Silverman, and Howard Huey.
So John?
All right, starting with John at the top. John, I've requested you unmute your microphone.
A chance to speak. At the previous presentation, I called to your attention that we are a landmark building within the radius of what needs to be inspected and protected. And I was assured at that meeting that you would send someone over to visit our building and to begin that preparation. And I'd like to tell you that nobody has showed up. And now you're moving forward full speed ahead, and you've neglected to come over here and inspect the landmark within the protected radius. So I'm once again calling that to your attention. And you've also informed us in this presentation of a number of services that we could get from our community service office there on Walker Street. I've gone by that office, I'm going to say a dozen times. I've never seen anyone inside that office. So those are the 2 points I'd like to bring to your attention. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Was that, sorry, the John Alpert, I missed the very beginning, and for some reason I can't see your name on the screen.
So can we have, well, I don't know if you want to give your address, but do you want to?
Well, I'm very happy to give. So at the last presentation, Yeah, hi. At the last presentation, whomever was in charge from DDC feigned ignorance of the 87 Lafayette Street firehouse. We are a New York City landmark. We are located on the corner of Lafayette and White Street. We are within the radius of what needs to be protected in terms of community facilities and landmarks. Everybody knows our building, even though the person who made the presentation last time pretended that he didn't.
We are familiar with the firehouse, and that is on the list of the properties that we will be performing the pre-construction survey. So letters to all the property owners are going out this week. You should be receiving one. Pauline Chan, our CCL, can also stop by with a copy of that letter. But you are on the list of the properties that we will be surveying. So that has not been undertaken in all of the adjacent properties yet, but it will be happening before dismantlement of the existing facility begins.
Okay, thank you very much. Our doors are always open. We're happy to show everybody around.
But also, John said that he had gone by to discuss with your contact person, and there was never anyone there.
Well, I mean, you may have had the bad luck of stopping by while she's out, while Pauline is out, dropping off advisories, hitting things up, or knocking on residents' doors. But she does work out of that office every day.
Is a phone number listed on the door or listed somewhere where they can see it?
I'm sorry?
Is there a phone number so in case she isn't there, people can contact her by phone?
Yes, the phone number that we included earlier in this presentation is a cell phone number, so you can call that number anytime and reach Pauline. Happy to leave a message. If you're stopping by and you want to make an appointment, we will schedule a time.
Can you give John the phone number for Pauline right now?
So I've got Pauline's phone number, Pat, and we've called it on a number of occasions, and we've written, and we've never gotten responses back. So I hope that this will change. But so far, there has not been good contact with people who want to get in touch with the office.
Okay.
I do know because I've been on the thread, so I do know that we have replied via email. But again, we will return the phone call and make sure that we're in touch. And I just do want to assure you that you are on the list and that property will be receiving the pre-construction survey.
Looking forward to it.
You might want to check in though why, if someone is using the phone number you're supplying, they're not getting a response.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, so then we have John,
just don't get phone calls back. That's been the situation. The number is a live number. It works. The email works. Nobody answers back.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, John. Marie? Is Marie unmuted?
I requested unmute. Maureen, can you speak up? Oh, she muted herself again. Hold on. Maureen, I requested that you unmute.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't really oppose this plan, and I encourage everybody to review what the positions of no new jails who are involved in opposing this plan before it was voted on. And I also encourage, and I could send you a copy of a report some of my friends worked on called No More Cages, which shows a real decarceration plan, means we can dismantle the current jails without building borough jails. And my question is, it's a total farce to call this a decarceration plan. We have a governor who, and we have public officials and many other people who, yes, my question is, let me finish. My question is, how could this be a decarceration plan when we're not taking the steps to stop people from being decarcerated? We're doing things to accelerate it, like rollbacks of parole reform, rollbacks,
Marie,
wait a minute, rollbacks of raise the age.
Marie.
Yeah.
The question has to be related to this presentation tonight about the deconstruction plan. I understand how you feel, but this presentation is about the deconstruction plan. So do you have a question about the deconstruction plan?
One of the first things she said was this is a decarceration plan, and I'm refuting that.
Maureen,
No,
regardless
deconstruction.
of,
I mean a decarceration plan, a decarceration plan.
this
This
is
is
not
not
about
a
the borough-based jails plan. This meeting is specifically about how to address quality of life issues around the dismantling plan.
Okay, well, how much is this project going to cost? That's a quality of life issue.
No, that's not what we're discussing tonight.
Okay.
And you can take it offline. You can send us an email with your questions and we'll see if we can answer them for you. But right now it is totally, this presentation is about the deconstruction of the existing buildings, how they're going to go about doing it, and how it's going to impact the community, so that we need questions that are specifically about this plan that was presented tonight.
Well, again, the DDC, one of the first things she said was that it is a decarceration plan, and it's not. It's an expansion plan.
Okay, Maureen, I'm gonna mute you. We're gonna move on.
Thanks,
to the next
thanks,
person.
Marie. Okay, Howard.
Okay. Howard, I've requested that you unmute. You should be able to unmute yourself. Howard, you're good to go. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear.
We can hear you.
Okay, one of the first questions that I have is on the art that's supposed to be replaced, put on the Sally Port. This is a Sally Port, and that art is going to be destroyed. So I'm just wondering how the placement of art is the right choice. Also,
I'm sorry. You said about the art?
Yes.
I think I understand. If I can try to recap the question, it's referring to, I think, the recent proposal that we're documenting some of the art temporarily on the exterior of the Sallyport. So again, I don't want to get too much into the details about the Sallyport design. We are coming back to the Land Use Committee in May to present and answer more questions about that. But I just want to underscore that that is a temporary solution, and there is a larger plan to document the artwork that is being removed and preserved in posterity. So again, we're happy to answer more questions about the Sallyport and the incorporation of the artwork on the Sallyport when we come back to the Land Use Committee in May.
Okay. I have a second question. What is the protocol if you get an alarm that says the PEL has been exceeded?
I'll take that one, Lauren.
Thanks.
The alarms that we get are before the PEL are exceeded. We get action alarms ahead of time so that we're able to stop activity and reevaluate the situation so that we don't exceed the PEL levels.
Okay. But what's the problem?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
What is the protocol? Okay, you get an alarm, it's getting close. What do?
We stop work in the vicinity of the monitor that's having the alarms, and we reevaluate our means and methods to address any reason that the alarms are going off.
Okay, so the protocol is to stop work.
Yes, in the vicinity of the alarm that's going off, any work that could be causing that alarm until we evaluate what's causing it.
Okay.
Is it a visual alarm, or is it a foghorn or a beeper? How do you know?
We get numerous people get messages sent to them, as well as the monitoring company, the DDC's representatives, and the Gramercy representatives, as well as the superintendents on the floor.
Sorry, Richard. How long does it take between the time people get the alarm? How long does it take to stop the work?
As fast as it takes to pick up your arms and wait for work to stop. Superintendents are on site full time, and the alarms are in real time.
Okay, so Richard, I'm sorry, Howard, you heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay, you're welcome.
And the third question.
Oh, how many more questions? We're
the last
at a
one.
loss for time. All right, this is the last question, Howard. Go ahead.
The trees on Center Street, they're not on the map. Are they supposed to be removed or stay, or what happened to them?
The trees on Center are to remain, with the exception of the ones within the new Sallyport footprint, which are not on street property.
Okay, Howard?
Well, I think you should verify what trees are gonna stay and go. That's all.
Well, they're telling you that all the trees on Center will remain except for the ones that are on the Sally Port footprint. How many trees are on the Sally Port footprint?
I believe there's 3 very small trees inside the planter bed.
Can you see the screen, Howard? See number 9?
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
3
remember
trees.
seeing 3 large trees in the scaffolding area or the Sally Port. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, see where number 9 is? That's where the 3 trees, am I right? That's where the 3 trees are.
That's where I don't count. I'm rounding to 3. I don't remember the exact count, but
Okay,
that's the
3
trees
or
that will be
4.
removed.
Okay.
The ones
I would,
the bridging
I'm
will
fresh.
remain.
I'm fresh from the walkthrough. I can confirm that in front of the Sally Port, there's kind of like a newish planter bed with a couple of like, I would say like maybe 3 or 4-year-old trees planted there. Closer to Walker Street, that's the grander, more mature trees that are they said they will be keeping.
That's correct.
Okay, Howard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Come back. Okay, so Alice,
Okay.
knowing, you know that we're pressed for time, so go for it.
Well, I'll do my best, but it's an important issue. So thanks for getting some of the FOIL requests to us on the part of this team. So the pre-construction survey, could you, these are just some asks, if you could please provide a list of the buildings that will be included with, and obviously under separate cover, but could you indicate the time frame as to when the survey will be done, how long it will take, and when we will receive the survey, the results?
So we can provide a list of where we're performing the survey, and we will also send a copy of the letter that we're sending out to the property owners over to the community board once that goes out. You will have to FOIL for the results of the surveys. Again, these are going inside private properties and taking photographs, etc. So these are not reports that we are making public. And Neil, I don't know if you can speak, or Rich.
Well, and timeline of when they happen is being coordinated with the individual property owners. So it's a date that works for the contract, or for us, our subcontractor, and the property owners.
So we might understand that if a property owner weren't available for another month, this would be postponing the beginning of the demolition?
No, they have a window of time that they have to respond and be able to work with us.
And what's that window?
It'll be in the letters that come out.
Well, you can't reveal what that time frame is for the public here tonight?
I don't have that timeline in front of me right now. I do.
All right, can you get back to us with that?
Yes, we will send a copy of the letters that's going out to the homeowners to the community board.
Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry, that's repetitive. It seems like there's a lot of questions on the trees. If you'd be good enough to provide the community board with a map that shows the tree removal. And also this business that we're supposed to call 311, I would hope that you could help us work with the Parks Department to very much be involved where those 112 trees will be planted. I think that seems like something that should happen. Are there any state or federal permits that are needed on this project in any way? Permitting wise.
Yes.
Any other question you can help us with?
I'm saying yes. There are
you are.
state permits.
There are state permits, and could you identify what those are?
Right now, the ones we're looking at are asbestos notifications.
Just the asbestos?
Yes.
Are there others that you're just not aware of them, or is that it?
None to my knowledge right now. If any work comes up that does require it, we will obtain it. But right now, that's the one that we need.
Okay, and there's no federal permit?
No.
Uh-huh. Okay. Has the DOB demolition permit been provided yet?
No, we are still in the process of that.
Do you have any idea when you expect to have that?
That's in DOB's. It's up to their backlog.
Right. Okay. Will there be a baseline air quality monitoring of the area prior to the project beginning?
Yes, there will be.
And could you just, it was a little unclear, the real-time camp setups. Could we get a map showing where those camp, where the air quality monitoring will be going on, so we have a sense of that? And I think a lot of people in the community do not feel that quarterly updates is going to be enough. So we're hopeful that maybe we could have something that's a little bit more frequent. Is that something that could be arranged on behalf of the community, given the sensitivity of the site next to the aging, elderly home for the elderly and a daycare center with children and a park with everybody?
Again, I think we've addressed this in past presentations, but the contracting team receives real-time alerts. We will be issuing the quarterly monitoring reports. We'll provide monthly summaries in them, but we are preparing the monitoring reports to be issued on a quarterly basis and posted on the website.
All right. Well, I want to go on record saying I don't think that's adequate as chair of the Environmental Protection Committee of Community Board 1. And I also would like to say that we would like to see a map, and that certainly could be something we would be able to receive, I assume, of where these air monitoring units will be placed. So is that something you could provide, or is that something we have to foil for?
I will double check, but I think that we can provide that.
That's great. Can I ask, and maybe it's to you, Richard, can you estimate how much more time it would take to bring down one building at a time rather than both at the same time? Is there a difference in the time? Like if you were to do the north building and then the south?
Twice
Just
as long?
curious. Twice as long. Twice as long, you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Were lead or asbestos used at the construction of the north building?
We are undergoing asbestos abatement in the North Tower now.
So there was asbestos.
Yes.
Lead?
Lead, I do not believe there's lead. I have to double check the reports, but there are no painted steel columns, so I don't believe there is any lead in that structure. It was built in the 80s.
And where was
double check the reports.
Okay, if you could get back to us on that. And will the State Historic Preservation Office review any of the plans or documentation or have any oversight prior to demolishing their state and national registered eligible building?
I'm going to defer to DDC on that one.
No, state is not reviewing. These are not landmark buildings.
But it is on a registry, so they don't have to. Are you confirming that there's no requirement on the part of the SHPO to review plans, even though that's on their register?
No, this is only on the LPC. We are doing a construction protection plan and a American Historic Building Survey.
I'm sorry, I don't know who you are and I couldn't hear what you said. I'm so sorry. Could you repeat what you just said?
We are going to landmark on the South Tower with the HABs, which is the Historic Building Survey and a construction protection plan for historic.
Oh, so you will, okay, so that, I think that was my question. So you will be going to landmarks, and when does that happen?
We already provided first submission of photo documentation, and we are in the process of finishing up the HABs report, which will be submitted shortly when it's complete.
Is that a public document that we could request to see, please?
Lauren, I'll defer to you on sharing documents, but it will be, once it's completed, I believe you may have to foil it, but I will defer to the team.
Okay, well, here we're on record, like to foil for all the historic documentation on the site. And lastly, I think this is lastly, I'm happy to report, will there be any archaeological monitoring? Well, I guess there has to be archaeological monitoring on the site during the excavation piece of the demolition. Who will be doing that?
There is no excavation within the footprint of the two towers, as the existing foundation wall and slab are remain in place during the dismantle contract.
But I thought you showed that you are in fact excavating underneath the ground level somewhat.
We are not excavating under the ground level.
So
this contract stops at the foundation wall remain intact and the slab remain intact.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So you're actually, so that will be coming under the design build phase. Is that what you're saying?
Under the facility contract, yes.
Okay. Thanks. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Vera has her hand up, and Vera will be the last question.
Pat, I think there were some other people. Will you allow the others in the public to?
I thought we had gotten everyone from the public. Lucian?
Three more hands.
So we have Elizabeth Berger, Charles Lai, Jill Song.
Okay, so Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So was it Elizabeth
Charles Lai and Jill Song.
and Jill? Okay. Vera, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted, I wanted to ask with respect to the artwork, do you have a permit for the removal of the artwork?
There is no permit for the removal of the artwork per se, but it is incorporated within our dismantlement.
In other words, you don't need a permit to dismantle the artwork?
Correct, but it is enrolled with our dismantlement permit.
Okay, so then with respect to the artwork, quickly, what's going to go first? The pillars of 7 Pillars of Wisdom, the Richard Haas's murals. Can you just describe very quickly which is going first and when you anticipate that to be?
Once the fence is enclosed, the artwork on White Street will be done first, and the Richard Haas mural on Baxter will actually be after that, once we start to take down the gymnasium.
Okay, so and the sculptures will be removed to Rikers, is that right?
That is correct, a storage facility.
Okay, and you anticipate that to be around May? In the middle of May or end of May?
Mid-May.
Okay. And with respect to asbestos and lead, nothing was found in the South Tower?
It was found in the South Tower as well.
Okay, and that's connected to the criminal court building, right? Where were they notified, the Office of Court Administration, the judges, the court officers, clerical, district attorney's office, legal aid, court appointed attorneys? Have they been notified about this and your removal abatement plans?
Once that is to begin, notifications will be posted.
Okay, do you know when that will be done?
We are working on a schedule to begin that now. Right now, we're focusing on starting on the North Tower, and then once that gets underway, we'll work on beginning in the South Tower.
Okay. With I noticed you said there's going to be roof protection on Walker Street. How about on the actual senior residence? Will there be roof protection there?
There will not, as their roof exceeds the height of our roof in that area.
Okay, and have you obtained an access agreement from Chung Pak yet?
That is between the city and Chung Pak at the moment.
Okay, can anybody answer that for me from the city?
That agreement, again, details about that agreement are ongoing between Chung Pak and the city. We are not speaking about the details of the agreement at this time.
Okay, so you don't know what's happening with that? Or you just don't want to speak about it right now?
Again, the agreement is between Chung Pak and the city, so we are not here to speak about that agreement.
Okay, but you do need that access agreement, right, before you can dismantle, am I correct?
That is not correct.
Okay, so so you can actually proceed with dismantling without the access agreement? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
All of the all the demolition can happen without the access agreement?
Correct. And again, we are proceeding to work with Chung Pak, but we're not here to speak about details of the agreement.
No, I understand that. I was just simply asking, can you proceed with demolition without without protecting Walker Street and without an access agreement?
We are able to proceed with work, but at Chung Pak, we will be providing protection for the building.
Okay. The other question.
There's access to the building that is permitted per the existing lease that Chung Pak has with the city. So that's not holding up work or protection for the building.
Okay. The other question I have is, since DOC parks along White Street all the time, where's DOC going to park now? When you fence it off, where are they going to go?
I'm sorry, we don't have someone from DOC here on this call to speak to that. But again, as part of the new facility construction, we will be providing 125 new parking spaces within the building.
No, 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 I know that, Lauren. I just wanted to know where all those cars are gonna go and how that's gonna impact traffic and
There's also
parking.
going to be, there's also, again, because the buildings are not going to be currently in operation, there's greatly reduced, staff from DOC. So the number of people that, have been arriving in the past to this building are not going to be necessary during the dismantle phase. They're not going to be populating the building.
Okay, yeah, I just noticed, like, I walk there all the time and I see a lot of cars parking there still, other than Gramercy and all that. I could see DOC cars, and I just was wondering where they were gonna go. Okay, I think that's it, Pat. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we've got to move this along. It's 8:45 and we have another big topic on the agenda, but Elizabeth, Charles, and Jill in that order, and that will be it. So Elizabeth,
Yeah, and everyone, if you could please be as brief as possible.
brief.
Elizabeth, you can unmute.
Specifically about this issue, the deconstruction.
Elizabeth, you're able to unmute. Okay, while we're waiting for Elizabeth, Charles.
Charles.
Hi, Charles. Oh, you muted yourself back. You can unmute now.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hi.
Good to go.
Hi.
Hey.
This is Charles Lai. Thank you for letting me in, and I really am extremely grateful to everyone that is really concerned about Chong Park and the seniors and all the different things that relates to the physical building itself. Just a couple of minor things that we actually have been seeing more rats now in inside our building in the basement. So that's something that you could take a quick look at. The second thing that I want to say is that I'm actually am curious in terms of the timing of doing the survey, and that I understand that having the survey would allow us to work with you to identify where some of the monitors ought to be, and how the vibrations would potentially create some structural concerns. So that's the second thing. The third thing is actually a more curious issue, is that if there are asbestos in the building right now, that the mitigation of the asbestos is of primary concern, not just with Chong Park or the daycare center, but the entire community surrounding this area. So I think it's actually quite important for us to know, or not just Chong Park, but the larger community to know what is the specific mitigation plan or the environmental air quality issues that has to have both the baseline and when the work is going to be beginning, that what are the steps that will make sure that the air quality is being communicated on a really tight time frame for the local residents. And that the last item that I want to ask is that the 3D rendition of the crane, it looks great, but I could see that the crane is swinging around in a really large radius, and that goes to part of my building, and I'm glad to hear that of course there will be protections to our roof, but then when it's swinging across to Baxter Street, it is, and I mean really it's right on top of the other buildings. So I think that is something that is of a greater level of concern for me as a community member and an organization that actually cares for the broader community. So I think those are issues that really need to be brought forth for a greater analysis. And I remember you guys said that you will come back to tell the community board as to what that is.
Well, first of all, Charles, they are doing a presentation. You're doing a presentation next week, right? With the community leaders. Is that not right, Lauren?
Yes, we will be providing this presentation. We'll be going through the same steps about the dismantle process on the 28th, leaders in Chinatown, and again, providing that a copy of the presentation in Chinese.
So just quickly, the abatement. So Charles is saying they're seeing more rodent population in their building. Can you get some abatement done there?
So to run through Charles's questions really quickly. I hear he's concerned about the rats. We will work with the pest control company and see how soon we can get them out there to get started. It's needed before we start dismantlement, but if we're able to get them out there ahead of time, we will look into that.
Great, thank you.
With regards to the survey, obviously your building is one of the buildings being surveyed. You'll be getting a letter this upcoming week, and we will be able to get together and do that survey with you. With regards to the asbestos abatement, we can follow all of the local and state guidelines, which includes all sorts of environmental controls, negative air, critical barriers, and third-party air monitoring. So there is numerous layers of protection with regards to the community during asbestos abatement, so that there is no threat of any danger to the community. And with regards to the crane, the simulation is one rendition of one crane option. We've been working with several engineers as well as preparing documents to evaluate the types of cranes we will be utilizing, which may evolve into, instead of one tower crane, 2 hydraulic cranes, a crawler or a hydraulic crane. We are evaluating that at this time so that we get the optimal usage and safest crane choice that we can have.
So I'm hoping then that you will come back again and give us updated information, like on the cranes or anything else that has changed.
Yes,
All
as soon
right.
as anything is finalized, that's when we will be able to explain it.
Okay, great. We've got Jill and then someone else set their hand. I think Rosa said her hand was up. We've got to move along. So Jill, you're
Jill,
next.
you can unmute yourself now.
Oh, did we ever get Elizabeth?
No, I can try her next.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
we
me?
can.
Okay. I have 2 questions. One is, what's the maximum number of trucks coming in and out of the site during the dismantling project?
I was asked this earlier tonight. I don't have those numbers. I wasn't prepared with those numbers for tonight. I
Okay.
did that in the last meeting, but it should average
Everything.
around 10 per day.
And then what is the maximum number of people who will be on the construction site during this dismantling project?
That will vary from abatement to dismantlement, as well as phases of construction with work with regards to inside the courthouse. That number could fluctuate anywhere from 15 to 30 or higher if we peak in multiple work areas at the same time.
So what is the maximum?
I'm not ready to present any of those numbers at this time.
And when will you be able to?
Once we begin to obtain full permits and we have the work fully scheduled, I would be able to provide those numbers.
When you come back to talk about the crane decision and any other changes and updates, maybe you'll have that information.
Correct. Means and methods change. It changes the number of people as well as the schedule of the work. So once I have that, I can present it.
Okay, I have one
Great.
more question. I'm going to say really quickly. This is directed toward the city. You're aware there's a points of agreement out there, and there are 2 issues that are up at hand already during this dismantling project. We already mentioned the street trees, and the other thing is the open spaces. What is the city's position regarding any potential violations of that points agreement regarding these 2 items?
Again, we are working closely to ensure that we comply with the points of agreement to the extent that it is possible. Again, it's our intent to preserve as many street trees as possible. We are, per the points of agreement, protecting the street trees that will remain in place on site. The points of agreement were developed earlier in the process before we had this contractor on board. So as we proceed with the dismantlement plans and refine things and understand the details a bit more, we did realize that we need to remove 4 of those street trees. So that's something that, again, we are continuing to work to adhere to the points of agreement as closely as we can.
Regarding the open space, preservation of open space?
Is that referring to the location of the Sallyport? We are still maintaining.
No, the White Street Plaza.
So the White Street Plaza, again, will be redesigned as a pedestrian plaza, as a pedestrian arcade, with the design of the new facility. Once we have that contractor on board, we will come back to share the details about that plan.
So during this construction project for 10 years, you're saying that the points agreement does not apply?
So it's not a 10-year construction project. We are slated for completion by 2027. will be substantial completion. And again, we are preserving that open space through the design of the new facility.
So during the 7 years, this points agreement does not apply.
During construction, we are closing White Street to pedestrian traffic for the safety and security of the site, yes.
So the points agreement does not apply. Okay. And I would like to know if there's any other parts of the points agreement that does not apply during this time as when the community board continues to meet. So we can keep track of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Did we get Elizabeth?
Well, if Elizabeth Berger wants to speak, you could raise your hand again. That'll be a good indicator that you're
While she's
ready.
doing that, can we get Rosa? Rosa, you had a question?
Thank you so much, Pat. So I was surprised to hear that 125 DOC parking spots are going to be provided in the project. So what percentage of the new building in terms of square footage or floor plate is that actually encompassing?
Sorry, I don't know that I have a percentage offhand. It will be provided subsurface, and it's approximately 1.5 floors.
Okay. And I know that 250 Water, where we have a lot of similar concerns regarding toxicity and chemicals in the air, you know, we have a very sort of chemically sensitive community here with, you know, 9/11 and everything else and the illnesses that are a result of that. Is there any reason why we can't have daily monitoring here when we have daily monitoring and reporting at 250 Water? Why
Daily monitoring is taking place on site, as Rich explained. It is occurring in real time, and before the monitors reach any of the PEL, the thresholds.
Apologies, I didn't mean monitoring, I meant reports. We understand that the monitoring will be continuous.
Quarterly monitoring reports. We are not reporting out, daily or in real time.
Is there any reason why you cannot do that? I mean, if the information is available and compiled and we are able to have that at a site that's just, a few blocks away, is there any reason why we can't have it at this site?
I am
Given that the community is
site that is happening a few blocks away or what protocols that they have in place. But for this project, we have made a commitment to quarterly monitoring reporting.
The neighborhood is asking for more. Okay, and then the last thing is just it seems like from what other people have been saying, you basically are checking the boxes and providing a neighborhood contact or a phone number, but nobody's at the office and the phone number doesn't get answered and no calls are returned and emails are not returned. So it seems incredibly disingenuous, and I think you just frankly need to do better.
Understood, and we do want to confirm that we do respond to all emails. We will make sure that we are upping our game on returning phone calls. Pauline Chan's office is open from 7:30 to 3:30. We'll make sure that we post when she's stepping out of the office to, do door knocking, pass out advisories, etc. But the office is there and it is staffed.
Okay, but that's not what we're hearing tonight. Thank you.
So
That
they've heard us, Rosa, and hopefully we will not hear reports that it's gotten worse. We'll hear reports that it's gotten better. Any other questions, Rosa?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much, Pat, for letting me have that.
You're welcome. Did we get Elizabeth online?
Elizabeth did not raise her hand, but Jan Lee did.
Okay.
Jan, you can unmute.
Two questions. One is the points of agreement. What is a points of agreement? I don't believe that it's a law, but what technically is a points of agreement? How is it characterized as a document? And the other question is, I think in the past we had asked this group, when did the use change from pedestrian plaza of White Street become a car park? What mechanism took place to allow that to happen? Because it's a change of use for the space and for the land. And I think that we had asked that sometime before. What is the time and who is responsible for allowing that use change to occur? So those two questions. What is the points of agreement technically? And then the other is, when did it change from pedestrian plaza to car park, and who is responsible and what document can we look to to memorialize that point in time.
So you are correct. The points of agreement, they are not a legal document, but these are agreements that the previous administration entered into, and they are serving as guidelines for this project. And again, we are doing our utmost to the extent practicable to adhere to those points of agreement. We do post updates on them on the website. Regarding the parking on White Street, I cannot speak to a formal change of use. However, again, we are ensuring provisions in the design guidelines and in the design plans for the new facility to ensure that that remains a pedestrian arcade. We are including parking for DOC staff in the design for the new facility, and we will be installing barriers such as bollards at either end of White Street to prohibit vehicular traffic except for maintenance vehicles. So again, looking towards the future, we will be addressing this issue and ensuring through the design of the new facility and the public space around it that this maintains or works as a public space. And again, I do just want to, try to remind folks we are here. We have the contractor here to answer questions on the dismantle. Trying not to speak too much about the new facility. We'll be coming back again to answer more questions about that when we have the new design builder on board.
All right. Any other questions, Lucian? Anybody else? Their hand up? It's 9 o'clock. And I really would like to close out this topic and any other questions?
I think you should do just one more. And
Who
that's
is it?
Grace Lee.
Grace Lee?
Yeah.
Is Grace unmuted?
Grace?
Question. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Is the city working with an engineering firm for the air monitoring? I'm just curious. Or how is that being managed?
Rich, can you speak to that? We are, Gramercy is hiring a third-party subcontractor to catch.
So the third-party air monitoring is hired by the city. It's a conflict of interest for us to have the air monitor hire the air monitor under us. So the city is hiring a third-party air monitor for that. I don't know if Anil's on to give the name of that company. It's slipped my mind at the moment, but they are.
We have AirTech on board to do the abatement monitoring for air. However, for the dust and noise and outdoor air monitoring, that's done by Gramercy team under their own subs.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, that looks like everyone.
Okay. Yep, that looks like everyone. I would like to thank Lauren, Richard, Anil. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. When is that presentation next week?
That is on the 28th for Chinatown stakeholders. And again, for anyone on this call, it's the same presentation that we're giving tonight. We're just providing it to another group and providing it with a Chinese translation.
And will you be sending that information to Lucian so he can send it out to our mailing list and post it on our newsletter?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, great. And we're going to hold you to coming back when you've made any updates and you have more information. So hopefully we'll see you in another month or two. All right.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time tonight and the invitation. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good night. Good night. All right. So I've been getting a lot of emails and texts saying that it is 9 o'clock, and I didn't realize that this this discussion was going to go on this long. So we have another huge topic, which is the cobblestone streets, and I agree with everyone. I was going to propose. Diane Lapson has her hand up. She's probably going to say the same thing that I'm about to propose, that I think we need to hold it over until next month and not have anything else on our agenda for next month and just deal with the cobblestones. Diane Lapson, what were you going to say? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I almost fell asleep. I know I'm not blaming anyone, but I'm losing confidence on this topic. I feel like if we had a momentum going and if we could put it as the first topic on the next meeting,
Yeah, we're gonna just have that as our topic.
Yeah, I think there's two things going on. One is that the people who came tonight were saying that they don't follow up, and that's how they were answering Laura. Once they do their thing, then they split, which is how the problem started in the first place. And the second thing is that well, you know what? I'm not going to go into it. I just feel like we need to
We're
make
gonna,
this a
sorry to do
priority.
that to everyone who came out for this topic, but we're gonna hold it over till next month.
Yeah.
I see Mark and then Betty. Mark and Marissa.
Yeah, it's just that's basically what I texted you earlier.
Right.
But just to be prepared, just in case there are topics that come up that might have to quality of life, my suggestion was to have our committee do whatever do, and then have this like as a separate, almost town hall-ish type of thing, quasi town
Yeah,
hall
you
meeting.
know, Mark,
But I don't know,
unfortunately, the
maybe.
CB1, the CB1 calendar, monthly calendar is so booked that it is difficult to have an extra meeting.
Right.
So we are going to hold it over till next month, make it our, try to keep it as our only topic. If nothing else, it will be the first topic. And that's what we'll deal with. Diane, we're going to get to your screen and Dree before we leave, if that's why your hand is up. Betty, you have your hand up.
No, that wasn't why my hand was up though.
Oh, okay. Well, what is
I
it,
wanted to
Diane?
say that next month, you know, because where I work, I don't know, I hope I'm going to be able to attend, but it might be very difficult because of the
Okay.
Mary.
Right. Okay. I'm sure you're going to have lots of people come from your from IPN, and Diane Lapson will come. Betty, what were you going to say?
First of all, I agree with postponing, so thank you for that. The other thing that I wanted to say was I've heard multiple people mention about the last presentation, how the group is not responsive to emails or other communications. They have been excellent with me, so I wanted to give a balanced opinion there. And then I've had ongoing email communications where in fact they'll keep me up to date if there's going to be a slight delay while I get some information together. I mean, they've been really extraordinary.
Good to hear. Okay. So it's good to hear both sides. I'm getting texts from everybody. Oh, Miriam is answering it. Anybody else wanted to say anything? So we're postponing,
Pat.
unfortunately. Who is
Hi.
that?
Hi, Pat. This is Marlene from DDC.
Hi, Marlene. Oh, I'm sorry you stayed. Thank you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We did want to recommend, and I did mention this before this meeting, that DOT be present at the cobblestone conversation because they would be the agency appropriately designated to handle those issues.
yeah.
So please be sure to invite them to the next
Yeah,
call.
I think we should.
And they were invited. They were invited, and they told us they couldn't come. In fact, we asked for somebody who could speak to cobblestones from DOT, and we also asked for
And Landmark.
LPC to.
So maybe this will give them enough time to come next month.
Yes, I think that would be best.
And I
as
hate to ask
explained
you, but
before.
Marlene, can you come back next month and
We'll
sit
come
in on
back.
that
Just let
conversation?
us know the date and we'll make arrangements.
We
Sure.
will. It's the third Wednesday. I don't have the date, but yes, we'll reach out to you. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you so
right
much.
now,
Enjoy.
the day you recommended we reach out to DOT about it, we did so.
Thank you.
Okay, so
It's
yeah.
third Wednesday is May 18.
No, third Wednesday. I'm sorry. What is it, Mark?
Third Wednesday is May 18.
May 18th. Okay. Gerald, Marilyn, again, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I don't know if
Thank you. And
anyone else
thank you to
from your
Frankie
team.
Lau, who also stayed. As well.
Frankie, thank you. I see Scott. Thank you. Yeah, okay, I don't see anybody else, but thank you for staying. Sorry, at least you got to hear about what's going on with the
That's right.
detention center.
That's right.
And we'll see you next month, but enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Diane Lapson has her hand up.
I just want to say thank you to any of the residents who showed up to discuss the cobblestones, and please don't give up and feel
Don't
like
give up. We
yeah.
will, like I
Come
said,
back
we'll make it
next
first
month.
thing on our agenda. We'll try to make it the only thing on our agenda
Thank
for
you.
next month. Gerald, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I did, Pat. Thanks. I understand the need to postpone. Unfortunately, I mean, there are many of us who showed up tonight, not on this committee, and it was 3 hours of waiting for this particular topic. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it next month or not, but you know, obviously I'll certainly do my best to try.
We appreciate it. I hope you
Thanks.
got something out of at least hearing the discussion about the dismantling of the
Pat,
detention center.
Pat, it's Mark.
Mark?
Anyone who can't make it next month, just submit an email statement to Lucian and Pat, and then they can read it into the record.
That's
That's
good.
true.
That's good.
Mhm.
Diane Stein, you have your hand up?
I thought, oh, did I take it? I forgot to take it down. Sorry.
Okay. Before we go to Dree and Scree, which we're going to do quickly, does anyone else, Lucian, first of all, do we still have a quorum?
I believe so. 1, 2, 3.
I'm here now. Sorry.
Okay, great, Dusty.
6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else to say? For those who are not on our committee who came tonight for the cobblestone, I hope you understand what happened. I didn't expect it to be a discussion about the detention center to be as long as it was. I appreciate you staying. I hope you can come back next month. Okay. So let's turn it over. Diane Stein, do you want to just do quickly the Dree and Scree reso?
Okay, quickly, a couple of months ago, the community board and through this committee passed a resolution to support this. There's a bill that originated in the Senate. It actually began when Senator Squadron was still our state senator, and Brian Kavanaugh continued with it to extend Scree and Dree eligibility to residents who are in buildings that have or complexes that have signed agreements with the landlord instead of stated by HCR. So that would include complexes like Independence Plaza that have tenants that are LAP or landlord assistance. Anyway, the bill did pass the Senate, and now there's a companion bill in the Assembly. I believe it's sponsored by Deborah Glick, and I spoke to John Scott. I think he may have been on the call on the meeting in the beginning, but I don't doubt if he's still with us. But he said, he would like, he expressed whatever he would like the committee to submit the resolution and send to Glick and Yulene Yu, who are the two assembly members here in our.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second, Diane?
Yeah.
Does everyone know what Dree and Scree, what it is? Anyone doesn't know? It is basically to hold the rent in place for seniors who have a certain income.
Yeah. Right. If you
62
or over and make a 50,000, I think it as of now 50,000.
50,000, yeah, or less.
And whose rent is a third of their income. And
all right.
Yeah, and we wanted to. It's important to support this before the primary election, while we have their attention.
Right. The other thing is, so we signed a couple of months ago. We all voted on the bill when it was in the Senate, as Diane said. So we're just going to take the same reso and just change the particulars to be for the Senate. I'm sorry, the Assembly. And send it to, as Diane said, send it to Deborah Glick and to Yulene Yu. So I don't know if anyone needs any more information on that. If you do, would you please speak up now? If not, we can vote.
So real quick, Pat, I just want to go over the therefore be it resolved. I just want to make sure, Diane, this is, just to be clear, the resolution that was passed in May of 2021 asking for support for the Senate bill to reform and enhance Scree and Dree applicability in New York City. This is, we're now turning this exact resolution now towards the Senate to do the same.
The
Assembly. So I've stripped out Senate from this bill, and we can put in the Assembly bill number in. But I just want to make sure that everyone knows what the committee was resolving to do. and that is that Community Board 1 supports the bill and encourages the members of the New York State Assembly Committee on blah, blah, blah to pass this to the Assembly floor, if that's where it is at this moment.
I
And the
believe
Community
it's in the
Board 1 calls,
taxation committee. I forget what it's called.
yeah, I'll get all that. I'll get all that. I'll reach out
Okay.
to Greg's office and make sure that's all super accurate. And Community Board 1 calls upon its representatives in the state assembly and governor to champion this bill from introduction to final passage and signature into law during the current legislative session. And does anyone have any questions
Justine
about
seemed to
what
have had a
303
question.
does?
I'm sticking my 2 cents in. First of all, I'm 100% in favor of what it is as written. What I want to ask and add, if possible, but I totally get if it's not possible, is to include Battery Park City in that screen tree.
Battery Park City is not excluded. This is for all.
Right, I was
Sure
gonna
it
say,
isn't. I mean,
right.
I don't know that it is or it isn't because we're a weird place. I don't know if it's included and if
But
it
I
needs
don't know that we specifically have to say it's for any seniors 62 over certain
Okay.
income.
Well,
What the expansion is meant to do is to help people who are previously in like Mitchell-Lama housing, and so they went private and now they can't necessarily afford the increases because they're on fixed incomes. So this is meant to expand it to those people that even though you are now an owner in some cases, some people still renters, we want you to be able to have this benefit.
I didn't know it was for owners though. I thought it was for
That
only
was the
renters.
way it was explained over here. Maybe that's incorrect, but
oh, okay. I didn't know who you. I don't know if I could answer your question. I'm not. But
Brian Kavanaugh.
Okay. All right. Did anybody ask him about Battery Park City or Gateway Plaza? Because they have an agreement with LeFrak. So
Yeah.
I don't know the particulars.
I don't know what the deal is.
I can help with this.
Hold on,
Sorry,
everybody.
do you know for sure? Because you can help with this
Let
because I
Lucian speak. Let
understood.
Lucian speak.
Well, yeah. According to the resolution, the legislation does two things. One is that it links the maximum income for screen injury recipients to Consumer Pricing Index (CPI), as opposed to requiring action for the legislature to statutorily raise the ceiling whenever it becomes too far out of date, which is especially important in times when there's inflation or inflation's above what is agreed to be a normal amount. So, for example, now, and then the second part is exactly what was said before by Mariama, that is allowing Mitchell-Lama buildings to be eligible for screen and DRE. If the building owners agree to limit rent increases to that would be permissible under the rulings of the Rent Guidelines Board. So that's.
But do you know if it's for owners?
People who'd always been in their apartments, and then all of a sudden, like in Southbridge, for example, we were half owned by the state of New York for close to 50 years, 45 years, right? DHCR was a half owner. And when we went private, the shares that had been with the state as part of Mitchell-Lama program went to the cooperatives and they became 100% owners. But a lot of those people were seniors. I mean, Southbridge is largely a senior community, seniors on fixed incomes. So to make this, how could they to contend with the shift of all of a sudden being a whole owner as opposed to getting support, this was meant to expand it to even those people. So people don't lose their homes. So people don't have to lose their homes and leave the neighborhood. It's meant to keep people around. And COVID only made it worse, that people were being forced out. So that's why they moved on it.
And this legislation and this
Hold on,
bill
everybody.
mentions Mitchell-Lama by name, correct? I just can't see it.
Yes, it's in the resolution as
Mitchell-Lama
well.
is mentioned by name.
Yeah.
Jill Goodkind had something to say.
Yeah, so the apartments that would benefit from it at an Independence Plaza would be the ones that still have some sort of rent regulation. But Gateway Plaza doesn't have any rent regulation. I don't think it applies unless Lucian knows differently, which would be wonderful, to Gateway Plaza or to any of the buildings in Gateway.
Okay,
in
let me
Battery
make
Park.
a proposal because it's 9:17. We know the spirit of the resolution. can we vote on the spirit of the resolution? And now, between now and Tuesday, when we have the full board meeting, Lucian, is it possible to find out if it would include Gateway and
I think we have a member of the public in attendance who seems to have the answer to these questions. If I could just unmute Elizabeth Berger. Elizabeth, you can unmute yourself now. Please go ahead. Elizabeth Berger.
She was having trouble last time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and make this person a panelist. You can unmute yourself. Now's the time.
Speak now or forever hold.
Now or never.
Maybe she stepped away. Well,
Oh,
if not,
man,
I
maybe
agree with
frustration.
you, Pat. I mean, I think that the resolution doesn't specify any given neighborhood or complex. We meant it for the entirety of our neighborhood, and the bill is meant for the entirety of New York City. So I think it's safe to pass the resolution and get the other information as to exactly who qualifies afterward.
Does anybody disagree with that?
I'm
Anybody
not-
have a problem with that?
So I'll stick my 2 cents in. I think that the way it's written doesn't apply to Battery Park City, but I'm not going to stop this bill
Okay.
because of it.
Yeah.
Because I
All right,
think that
let's
it's
not-
really important to go
We're
forward.
going
no
to
matter
try
what.
to get specific later,
Yeah.
Justine. So if anyone disagrees with us voting on it right now and getting the specifics about Gateway and Battery Park City by Tuesday, then let me know. If not, let's take a vote.
Let's take a vote.
Does
I
everyone
support taking
understand
a
what
vote.
we're voting on?
Okay. All right.
By any chance?
Oh,
Yes,
now we hear.
Elizabeth
Wait,
Berger.
Elizabeth. Yes, we hear you.
Finally. Listen, let me tell you what it is. This is, first of all, the bill that was voted on a year ago it's in the same spirit. It was rewritten and passed by the Senate just recently. It has not been put to the Assembly yet. The one from the Senate and the Assembly now are exactly the same. They are only, this particular bill is only for Mitchell-Lama buildings that either are actually buildings that were Mitchell-Lama, and for whatever reason, when 20 years were up, they became privatized as opposed to getting the next, I just forgot the word for rent subsidy.
Stabilized?
Yeah.
Extension.
RPN was supposed to be rent stabilized, but it was
Okay.
overturned after it passed several times in courts in the city, and then in Albany they overturned it. They allowed the new owners to not rent stabilize these current.
Right. Elizabeth,
it does
thank
not
you.
does not apply to Battery Park City. You have to have been a Mitchell-Lama building.
Okay.
And the amount is
Thanks, Elizabeth.
$50,000 or less.
Right.
And just one other thing, I heard that that Kathy Hochul actually said that she was in favor. So, and right now it is Glick who is
Carrying it.
bringing it to the Assembly, but we could use
Right.
a
All
lot.
right, so we're going to
We're
vote.
wanting to ask for the co-sponsors, for Yulene to also get in on this, and to co-sponsor, and any other additional co-sponsors that would join, and then the more support.
It's
the better.
9:20. I think we've had enough discussion. Elizabeth, thank you.
Just tell me
We're
that
gonna-
gentleman's name who was saying he had more information so I can contact him. There was a guy talking.
Lucian Reynolds?
I don't know.
I don't know if I said I had more information. I will certainly look it up.
Right.
No, I would like to speak to anyone who thinks they have some.
Okay,
are
Elizabeth,
interested.
we're going to vote now because so
Okay,
the committee is going to
Very
vote.
much for turning me on.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's vote, committee.
All right, everyone, here we go.
Here
All
we
right,
go.
Anyone who is opposed? Anyone who is abstaining? Any recusals? Okay, now no one go anywhere. I just want to double check who's in attendance.
Yeah, if we have, if our,
I want to make sure because it's late. And we may have lost people.
Mark is gone.
Yeah, let me. In fact, I'm really sorry to do this, but can I just do a quick roll call?
Yep.
Because there's so many
I
people.
thought that's what had to happen because
Well,
that's how
I
many
mean,
vote
it's,
we're taking.
yeah. So, Pat.
Yep.
Mariama.
Yeah.
Justine.
Yes.
Francis.
Yes.
Mimi.
Yes.
Mitch.
Yes.
Betty.
Okay, yes.
Michael.
Kettering, yes.
Wonderful. Elizabeth Lewison. Michelle Mullen.
Mullen, yes.
Bob Schneck.
Yes.
Jimmy Song. Jimmy with us? Okay.
I see his name.
He's
Unmute
muted.
yourself.
Is he
Good to
is
see
he a
you,
panelist
Michelle.
or is he attendee? Oh, he's a panelist.
No,
Okay.
No, he's
Um,
not see him, but
Good
he's
kind.
His name.
Good kind, yes.
Stein.
Stein, yes.
Wow, you all really hung with this meeting. Really great turnout for this
This
meeting.
is a
You all hung
fabulous
with it.
committee. You know that.
I'm
Come
telling
on.
you. I'm telling you. I mean, I knew it. But yeah, wow.
Sorry, guys, that I didn't realize that the detention conversation was going to go on for as long as it did. But I think we got some good information out of it. People got to ask the questions. So, as always, I appreciate all of you. As Lucian said, Lucian, we appreciate you too for all the work that you do on our behalf. But I appreciate the committee for hanging in there. It's 9:24. It's good to see people who
Can I
turned
say
on
something, Pat?
on their cameras. Sure.
So I know that Brian mentioned earlier that the police, the first precinct meeting is next Thursday, but so is the borough president's hosting of our board as well as boards 2, 3, and 4 for the cannabis forum. It's an in-person forum. I think it's going to be hybrid. But I haven't been provided with a Zoom yet, but it's definitely in person. Location on Bleecker Street. There's flyers. I'm sure Lucian will send it around to everybody, but I just wanted people to be aware of that. And if you have any kind of quality of life questions that you would like to submit, when I was speaking to like the planning committee for this event, they were saying that we would take questions like in advance and allow people to sign up in advance of the meeting to provide questions, but you could also send them, to me and Pat and Lucian, or me, Pat, and Lucian, and Tammy, or whatever, or to the Quality of Life Committee, so that I can take them with me and maybe, get them
Mariama,
in.
it's your topic. Mariama it was on our agenda for tonight. Sorry, Mariama. Hopefully next month.
I just wanted to mention it because the event is on Thursday. So the borough president has stepped in. It was originally being planned by Board 2. I was invited by Board 2 to be involved. And then when the borough president found out what we were doing, he said, I want to host it. And now boards 1 through 4 are participating, and Borough President Levine is hosting it.
That's
So
really
you'll
cool.
come next
Lucian
month.
could send
You
that around.
will,
That'd be great.
For
yeah,
sure.
we'll all get the information.
Yeah.
Mariama, so next month you'll let us all know what happened, right?
Right. But if anybody has any questions, quality of life questions, you're concerned about the number of places that are popping up, or why are they there before the licenses were given out, like the gray areas and all that kind of whatever. If you want to get it to me before that event, or sign up yourself to ask a question at that event, it's next Thursday at 6:30, I think, or maybe 6 o'clock. I don't, one of those.
Maybe
All
you
right,
can
so we'll get the link.
when
I
they
see
find out they can
Mimi
email
yawning.
people.
Say it
I'm
again.
sorry?
I said maybe when you find out the exact.
I can send the flyer to Lucian if he doesn't have it. I do have the flyer. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head what time it is.
Okay.
I think it might be
All right.
6:30.
And I don't want to keep you all from going to bed any longer than I have to, but I do need to say that it is a very different kind of scenario that we're in with legal marijuana. And today is April 20th. As many of you may know, that is a very important date for people who smoke marijuana, ingest marijuana, or what have you. A lot of information came out of the Cannabis Board today, I think, in honor of that. And then tomorrow, New Jersey is going to begin adult retail sales of marijuana in
Oh.
dispensaries. So if
And you don't need a
anyone
prescription.
does, and you don't need a
So,
prescription,
ferry
it's
trip.
walk-in. I'm not advocating for anyone to bring marijuana across state lines because that is a federal crime. However, if anyone does go and to inspect one of the dispensaries, just to see what they like or don't like about it, to inform future conversations, please do let me know, because that is very interesting. And there will be one opening on the
Will
off the
it be
path
like Whole
train on
Foods where they
Grove
have
Street.
samples on the counter?
I'm not
Field
able.
trip,
I do not know.
everybody.
Yeah, but Jersey City will have one by the path train. So that's something that everyone needs to keep in mind. Again,
Easily accessible.
again, it's a federal crime to bring it across state lines. Anyway, with that being said, I had to say that it's now 9:28. Pat, I'm gonna kill the recording. Is that okay?
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.